like I said, we'll be exploring the transformative power of Web3 and digital finance, focusing on how these emerging technologies are reshaping the industries, financial system, and professional landscape. So our discussion will cover key concepts, practical applications of this concept, and the potential risks and opportunities that come with this evolution. So we'll start with an introduction of ICL, what we do, and we'll proceed to having a discussion with our speaker. Our speaker is going to tell us about himself, don't worry. And then we also move into the question and answer where we ask our speaker the questions we've already prepared for him. After which you can also ask your question. I mean, once you see him speaking and you have any pressing question, just use the raise hand icon and you will be given the chance to ask your questions or make any contribution. Then we will also explore the challenges. If you have any contributions as well, feel free to make your contribution. And then at the end of the session, you should have a clearer understanding of what Web3 means for the future of finance and how it can be leveraged in real world applications. So you are at the right place. You are going to enjoy your Saturday. And yes, so I'll be handing over to, okay, before I hand over to Ruth, let me quickly have a brief introduction of what we do at ICL. So ICL is an acronym for Iwelabi Consulting Limited. If you are not following us on LinkedIn, try to follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter for you to see our posts and try as much as possible to engage in our posts because they will be very beneficial to you. So Iwelabi Consulting Limited is a leading provider of comprehensive financial services ranging from CFO advisory, accounting, and then tax services. So our team is well experienced. We have a team of experienced professionals who are dedicated to helping businesses achieve their financial goals and then optimize their operations. So we have our key major products, which are three: the CFO advisory, the accounting and tax services, and the financial transformation. So our CFO advisory services offer strategic guidance and support to businesses of all sizes and types. Whether you need assistance with financial planning, risk management, or corporate governance, I mean, our experts can always provide valuable insights and recommendations. And we work closely with clients to develop custom made solutions such that solutions suit each of our clients. So our accounting and tax services is also a full range of services that has to do with compliance with local and international regulations. And yeah, we also have experienced team handling that for us. Then to our financial transformation service, we help businesses to modernize their financial processes and then improve their overall efficiency because we understand the importance of efficiency. I mean, using little inputs to provide maximum output. So it's our core value at ICL. And then we can assist with implementing new accounting systems. We can help to automate workflows. We can help to optimize financial reporting. So yeah, these are all the things we do, or some of the things we do at ICL. If you have any of this, if you need help with any of these, do well to reach out to us, probably on LinkedIn or anywhere you see us. So I'll be handing over to my partner now. She will be doing the speaker's profile and then handing over to the speaker. So yeah, Ruth.
Okay, thank you very much, Barakat, for that wonderful introduction about ICL and TITL. I would like to welcome everyone once again. Join me in welcoming Mr. Afiz Awowale. I'll be reading his profile. We are honored to welcome Afiz Awowale, Director of Technical Accounting and Digital Assets of Ava Labs, to our webinar today, TITL 3.0. Afiz is a visionary, forward-thinking, strategic business leader in Web3 and digital finance, with a keen passion for financial connectivity and strengthening the integrity of financial reporting in today's rapidly evolving Web3 landscape. With a formidable track record across banking, accounting, auditing, and consulting, he has spearheaded complex high-stakes accounting, governance, ESG, and digital asset initiatives, delivering transformative insights that drive business success across multiple industries and global markets. As a trusted strategist in accounting and finance, Afiz ensures organizations aligns with the highest industry standards while embracing simplicity and innovation. Currently at the forefront of the Web3 revolution, he is actively shaping the future of digital finance, leveraging his deep expertise to decode complexities, unlock opportunities, and redefine financial systems for the digital age. Renowned for his outstanding ability to drive operational excellence and deliver commercial astute accounting solutions and business-friendly outcomes, Afiz has played pivotal roles at KPMG, EY, Meta, and now Ava Labs, and by extension, the Avalanche blockchain community, where he has influenced some of the most cutting-edge advancements in accounting, fintech, and digital finance. His ability to bring technical vision and adherence to accounting principles with strategic business objectives has earned him multiple awards, recognition, and speaking engagements on global stages, cementing his reputation as a thought leader and catalyst for innovation, whether advising Fortune 500 firms, scaling a startup, or navigating the next frontier of decentralized finance. Afiz is committed to empowering businesses and individuals with the insights needed to thrive in the digital finance era. Please join me by clapping our hands using the icons to welcome Afiz Awowale, our guest speaker for today.
That's really good. Yeah, that's really good. Thanks for the intro and the introduction, right? So the good. Can you all hear me clearly?
Yes, I can hear you clearly.
All right, perfect. All right, it's a great honor and a pleasure to be here this morning. Okay, and I'll start off by saying I need no further introduction. You did a great justice to introducing me, my experience, and what I do and what I stand for. So thank you very much. Right, and thanks for the invite to speak to this honorable audience of fellow accountants, innovators, enthusiasts, and finance professionals in general. And maybe even though they're not finance professionals, that but have decided to join us this morning or this afternoon, wherever you are, because it's quite early where I am, for this educative session. We'll keep it very interactive, very collaborative. I want to make it just on hands, open conversations. We say things, you say things, we pass things off each other. Keep it cool, keep it calm, keep it collected, keep it casual, right? So again, thank you for everyone for joining today's session. And I want to just set this in a little bit before we go into all the things that we want to talk about, right? Why this topic and why this format? And I'm going to talk about the format because I've decided no slides. Okay. When I was invited to speak under the team, Timeout with Industry Leaders, I paused to reflect, okay, not just on the content, but also on the mood of the conversation we ought to have. And I decided to title this session, Web3 and digital finance gradually, then suddenly. I believe when the Iwelabi team reached out originally, it was something about Web3 and digital finance, essentials for accounting to know. And when I thought about that, I felt it was a great topic, but we needed to expand it, because if I'm going to talk about essentials for accounting to know, okay, we may inevitably be diving into technical topics, or I might just tell you, or it is just these three things, and we'll be done in a couple of minutes. So really wanted to expand the impact of this session for everyone. And as things happened, I think we started having this conversation maybe early February or so, where a lot of things happened between that time and when we eventually decided the topic, that I realized, gradually then suddenly, it's just a key term to kind of phrase up everything that's been happening. And I'll go into those, because it perfectly captures what we're experiencing right now in the global financial landscape. Okay, and a lot of my talk, a lot of the things I'm going to cover will be from a global perspective. Okay, it wouldn't just be localized, because I'm cautious of the fact that we have a global audience. Maybe most people are from Nigeria. I'm originally from Nigeria as well. No, but I want to make sure that when we're talking Web3 and digital finance, it is not geographically restricted. Okay, it is a global matter, and some of the most powerful people in the world that you can think of are actually at the forefront of this revolution right now. So, for years, for many, many, many years, I got into this industry a little over 5 or 6 years ago. Okay, the old Web3 blockchain crypto space had been there. Some argue maybe from 2010, some argue maybe from 2008, some say maybe from the first time the Bitcoin white paper was released. But the thing is, it's been there for a long time. Okay, I work for a company where the CEO says, he actually wrote something about distributed ledger technology long before Nakashi's motto came up with with Bitcoin white paper. So it's been building up and it's there, right? And we are seeing it move gradually now. Okay, but for many, many years, Web3, crypto, digital finance, they were seen as fringe technologies. Excuse me. And I believe they're still seen as fringe technologies because the rate of adoption and the rate of utilization is still very low. Okay, I came across some data recently where it's maybe about 30% of Nigerians, for example, interact with crypto. Okay, that's a good number. Okay, and I think Nigeria ranks in the top 3 or so of the countries in the world where we use crypto transactions or we are very much into blockchain. But if you're looking at the purpose of this entire initiative, this entire revolution, it is for everyone. Okay, it is to serve the underbanked, the people that's unfairly not financially included, people that are out of reach, people that get extorted when transferring money cross-border, people that don't have access to easy payments and the things like that. So we are looking at adoption at a global scale, at a massive scale for everyone. Not everyone will come on board, but when we say everyone, we mean most or majority of humans. So we want to take a walk away from it being a fringe technology where it's being taught to be experimental. And everything that starts new is quite experimental because, you plug this in, you try that, you put that plug, you plug another one in. It's just like you're in a lab. And that's why most of the companies you see in Web3, especially those that are actually building, are called labs. Okay, I work at other labs, for example. Okay, you will hear maybe Sonana Labs, Near Labs. A lot of labs are out there, Aptos Labs, Misty Labs, because it is like you're in a lab. You're building, and just figuring things out in a way that's going to scale and be useful for people. So it is not just, it's also experimental. I think we've really gone beyond the stage of it being experimental. Right now, we are at the stage where it has been adopted. But even at the adoption level, there's still a lot of misunderstanding, and it is often resisted. And the resistance is the biggest order we have to scale. Now, resistance comes in different forms. It comes from individuals. Okay, it comes from political bodies. It comes from governments. It comes from traditional financial institutions. Because change is constant, and when change comes, it disrupts. Okay, not all changes disrupt, but when change comes, to a large extent, it disrupts. And what Web3 is offering in terms of DeFi, distributed identity technology, tokenization, is disruption. Because we're saying we want to move away from all the, if you and I want to transact, okay, right now, okay, there is a huge chance that I'm probably going to go through an app, I'm going to go through a platform. I know there is a middleman, whether I see it or not, who's going to take charge a commission. Maybe we're transacting through Blank or any other payment platform, maybe just a virtual asset service provider. That is TradFi, okay, and Web3 is trying to move away from all of that to say, eliminate the middleman or reduce the middleman. It's a point that we have P2P transactions, so peer-to-peer, and then we have even moved away from the concept of P2P. Now we're talking about peer-to-protocol, okay, because there are certain transactions that we do that you are not actually interacting with another person on the other end. So we are beginning to see a lot of advancements. We're beginning to see a lot of the resistance being washed down, because people that were trying to say this ship is not going to sail are actually say, oh my goodness, I need to jump on that ship. Okay, and in the span of just a few months, and I would say a few months, because if I go back maybe 6 months to 10 months, I will be talking about developments that will probably take us the whole day. But I want to really, own on from when President Trump came on board, which is just January 20th, so which is just 2 months ago. It's been a flurry of activities. It's been a flurry of positive development. We're seeing policies being overturned and new policies coming up overnight. And that has meant a lot for this industry. It is beginning to shape it in the way we want to see it. We are beginning to see the world's largest economies, the regulators, and even institutions. I'm talking institutions kind of said, oh, we will never get there. Oh, we will never be involved in this and that because, it is fraudulent. It is, some people say it's criminals. It got all the bad PR. But I'll tell you, tell me one industry where there are no bad actors. Okay, tell me one industry where fraud doesn't happen. Okay, you possibly can name that. Okay, so let's scrap that. Okay, and we want to just focus on adoption, regulation, and championing this new financial frontier. Okay, and that's one of the reasons why I said we have gone from gradually, because it was just all baby steps. But I can tell you right now, we are flying. Web3 is flying, and that's why we've gone from gradually to suddenly. Now, why no slides? Because this is a timeout, okay? And when I took a step back, like when you're having a timeout, and having a timeout with friends, with colleagues, wherever, I'm not coming to talk through slides, okay? I want to sit in a relaxed environment. I know this is a virtual room, but I want to make it very relaxed. You can cross your legs if you want, have your drink in hand, and let's just make it highly conversational, highly interactive, hands-on, real talk. Let's just talk. Okay, and that's what I'm doing so far. And I hope that, you all join me in getting this conversation over with. So that at the end of the day, we know that we're really in for something really impactful, really conversational, and we made something good out of it. So we're stepping away from the usual, okay? A real timeout with industry leaders shouldn't feel like a classroom or conference. It should be conversational and reflective and collaborative. So today's session will be just that. We'll walk you through the key shifts which are happening globally, then we'll be opening up for a dialogue. Because the future of Web3 will be shaped not only by policymakers and protocols, but by professionals. Okay, and those are the things I call the 3 Ps: policymakers, protocols, which people usually call smart contracts, and then professionals like you and I, who understand where finance has been and where it is going. And a little bit of something personal. Many of us started in this entirely different industry because Web3 is new, it's different. We started out in this industry because we're all thriving in our previous roles. There's many of us that took up kind of leadership roles in this industry that are trying to do a lot of public benefits collaboration, a lot of public advocacy, because you just don't sit down and hope that the industry is going to push itself. People are actually pushing it away. So we need people from the inside to also push it forward. We started out only to take a chance on a technology with a limited history, but infinite potential. Okay, if you have, I don't know how many people here have ever read a white paper. Well, I'll say maybe by a show of hands. Let's see. If you ever read a white paper from any of the networks out there, that is actually looking to build something of value. There are so many projects that will never make it. There are so many projects that are just a rock pool. There are so many projects that they are just meant to take the money and go away. But if you read white paper or try to know more about projects that are actually building for value, okay, you will see that there is a lot. And that's why I said infinite potential. And this collective leap of faith, as I call it, has fostered a unique culture of collaboration and innovation that I'm grateful to be part of. So I do a quick rundown of key global developments in Web3 and digital finance since January 25 in a bit of a chronological order. Right? We have even just 2 days ago, actually, we had Donald Trump who made history on 28th of March at the Digital Asset Summit in New York, where he addressed the community of crypto and Web3 leaders for the first time as a sitting president of the United States. Now, I'm not just talking about the CEO of a company or a regular individual. We're talking about technically the most powerful person in the world, and that gives you a message that this has gone far. This has gone really far, and there was a conversation that I read with the founder of Blockworks, because Digital Asset Summit in New York is organized by Blockworks. And there was a conversation I had with the co-founder. And he said, when we started out a few years ago, we couldn't even get top executives from banks to come and speak at our event. 6-8 years down the line, we're having the most powerful person in the world, deliver a speech at our summit. That says a lot. And speaking at that summit, okay, President Trump shared his vision on crypto, regulation, Web3, and the future of digital asset altogether. So I would like to, they say, pictures speak louder than words, and even videos speak a lot louder. So I would like for everyone here to watch his full speech. He was very straight, very direct, very powerful, and very brief. So let's get into that video that's right on the screen.
The co-founders of Blockworks. In about 30 seconds, we have a historic moment. The President of the United States is going to address the Digital Asset Summit. This is the first time in history that a sitting president has addressed a crypto conference. I know everyone has their phones out, but please give a massive round of applause. Help me welcome the President of the United States.
A very big hello to everyone at the Blockworks Digital Assets Summit. It's an honor to speak with you about how the United States is going to dominate crypto and the next generation of financial technologies. And it's not going to be easy, but we're way ahead. Just 2 weeks ago, we hosted the first ever White House Digital Asset Summit, bringing together many of the world's top leaders in crypto for a conversation led by our White House AI and crypto czar David Sachs, who's a fantastic and very brilliant guy. That same week, I signed an order creating the brand new strategic Bitcoin reserve and a U.S. digital asset stockpile, which will allow the federal government to maximize the value of its holdings instead of foolishly selling them for a fraction of their long-term value, which is exactly what Biden did. He got a fraction of their value. We're ending the last administration's regulatory war on crypto and Bitcoin, and that includes stopping the lawless Operation Choke Point 2.0. Operation Choke Point went beyond regulation, and I mean far beyond. It was a form of lawfare through government weaponization. Frankly, it was a disgrace. But as of January 20th, 2025, all of that is over. I've also called on Congress to pass landmark legislation creating simple, common sense rules for stablecoins and market structure. With the right legal framework, institutions large and small will be liberated to invest, innovate, and take part in one of the most exciting technological revolutions in modern history. It's so big, it's, I think, as big as you can get. Pioneers like you will be able to improve our banking and payment system and promote greater privacy, safety, security, and wealth for American consumers and businesses alike. You will unleash an explosion of economic growth, and with the dollar-backed stablecoins, you'll help expand the dominance of the U.S. dollar, and many, many years to come, it'll be at the top, and that's where we want to keep it. We only want to keep it at the top. always. I can already see that the energy and passion of the crypto community is the kind of spirit that built our country, and it is exciting to watch as you invent the future of finance. And right here, it's going to be right here in the USA, the good old USA. Together, we will make America the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and the crypto capital of the world. Thank you. Good luck. God bless America.
And God bless everyone. Okay, that's I don't know about you, but that's a very powerful, brief speech. Okay? It says a lot without him missing words, without him mumbling. It is a very powerful speech, and that speech will be held on in the record for decades and centuries to come, because it is a defining moment in Web3. So I've been doing a lot of talking. I want to just throw it back to everyone, the other participants. If anyone could just share with me maybe one or two key takeaways from what Trump said in that video. Any takers? Okay, we have someone, I believe. Moderators, can you see that?
We have Ajao Babatuni, so you can have the floor.
Okay, thanks to our speaker for all shares so far. So my own take from the clip is actually the energy of the US president in terms of the crypto community and Web3 at large, which is actually contributing to the anticipated mass adoption. Because as you have rightly said, Web3 is yet, or let me say the crypto, right? In addition with Web3, with the blockchain space, is yet to be massively adopted, right?
Yeah.
And people are still having some kind of misconception about this technology, right? In fact, some people actually believe that blockchain is only meant for cryptocurrency, and when they hear of digital currency, you're only talking about cryptocurrency. So seeing the energy of the US president is actually going to contribute, right, positively to the mass adoption that we have been anticipating for. So that's what I can take out from that clip. Thank you very much.
That's really on point. Thank you very much, Ajao Babatunde. Yeah, I think we have another hand help, and after that, I'll just dive right back into it.
So we have Kalim Lahit Jani, so you can have the floor.
Okay, yes, thank you. I think the key takeaway from my own end is regarding the regulatory constraints that the crypto industry had. I think maybe over the previous couple of years. So that was a major key takeaway for me, because it means if the government is deeming crypto to be a legal way of creating opportunities in the economy, so it means most of the should I call them gatekeepers or people that can really make the adoption to become much more widespread. So they have a legal basis to explore the opportunity and allow that industry to also thrive. So I hope that should also signal to other governments and economies like in Nigeria also, where we still have governments oversight that is looking a bit too strict. So maybe that could also inform better regulatory governance from other governments outside the United States.
Thank you very much, Kalimna and Ajao Babatunde. I think those are really really good highlights of the video. Okay, and I couldn't have put it any better. All right. So we had President Trump there outlining his administration's vision for positioning the United States at the forefront. And this is very critical. Okay, bear in mind the forefront part of it, because I think crypto has been moving, Web3 has been moving, digital finance has been moving, all the aspect of it has been moving. Okay, but we have another pointer from Zainab we're saying the financial freedom aspect of it, which is also very critical, and that's also a very, very valid point. Okay, a lot the wheels have been moving, but I think particularly in the last 4 years or so, the United States has just been at the back seat. Are probably just doing nothing. Okay, in fact, I think that they've been cogs in the wheels, just slowing things down, and that tells you the kind of struggle when you have businesses that are funded by individuals or venture capitalists that are really trying to make a change, but globally. Okay, now let's even leave the United States aside. Let's talk about Nigeria. Okay, we've had a lot of policy and policy somersaults when it comes to this particular trend or innovation. Okay, we've seen instances from when the Nigerian SEC said, "Hey, you can't do this." The central bank said, "You can't do this. You can't have a operate account. You can't transact in crypto," and there was an outright ban. Okay, but we've also seen where regulations or laws that come up where they're trying to even tax crypto transactions, and that's for me was the defining moment to say nobody decides to tax what you think is not going to work or what you think is not going to scale. Okay, so if the government of Nigeria is looking to tax crypto transactions and saying, okay, we've kind of realized we had missteps in the past. Okay, now we're going to gradually open up the world, gradually open up the gates to people to kind of get into this new technology frontier. Then we're going to start taxing it. That is a positive step in the positive direction. So I kind of really sum up everything that he said there in that video. First, establishing the US. Can we put people on mute? Can I go on?
Yes, please.
All right, perfect. So I think the first key point, I took away 5 key things from that video. The first key point is establishing the US as a crypto leader. Okay, and they're saying we want to make the United States the undisputed Bitcoin superpower and the cryptocurrency capital of the world. It really intrigued you anyway that even though there's been a lot of resistance and all, I think the single largest holder of Bitcoin is actually the United States, the government of the United States. But it's not like they actually invested in it. Those are from seizures. But when you seize an asset, it kind of becomes part of your treasury, right? Until you find out what to do with it or there's a court ruling on it. Okay, but this is the biggest part of it for me, ending previous regulatory hostility. And he talked about Operation Choke Point 2.0. Okay, Operation Choke Point 2.0, as people call it, is this whole regulatory battle between Department of Treasury, Department of Justice, and the Web3 industry, where they just wanted to not want businesses operating in this space to succeed. I tell you what, if you are a crypto business or you do maybe L1 or infrastructure or do anything, like I'm not in the crypto business, but we support, we build for, we're a blockchain service company, and then we are actively involved in policy and advocacy. So we support the Avalanche ecosystem and other ecosystems that want to scale, right? If you want to open a bank account, okay, in the US, it's a lot of work. Okay, and I can imagine it's probably going to be the same in Nigeria or other, because you will go through a lot of hurdles, and the accounts may never actually be open. So tell me, if you don't have those bank accounts, how do you pay salaries? You could say maybe you could pay them in crypto, you could pay them in USDC, stable coins, but people always want cash sometimes because they say cash is king. So how do you get your business running if you don't have the mechanism, to have cash in and cash out? On ramp and off ramp, meaning you bring your cash onto the blockchain, in the form of a digital asset representing another form, but when you want to pay, when you want to spend cash, you have vendors, you have business partners who only want to trade cash, who only want maybe stable coins. It's very, very difficult. I've seen instances where so many businesses couldn't operate because of this Operation Choke Point 2.0. It was killing, but now it's gone. We are very grateful. Okay. I think the next point there is saying, we're going to bring legislations that would push for clarity. And this has also been a very, very big blocker to the progress that we could have made in the industry in the last 3 to 5 years. I remember at a point sometime last year, the United States Congress actually repealed SAP 121, Staff Accounting Bulletin 121, which is from the SEC, which kind of said, okay, if you have an asset, then you have to recognize the liability. It's which was saying just treat it like you're a bank. Okay, have an asset and should reflect a custodial liability, but that was not going to work because it was going to mess up the capital arrangement and all of that for a lot of banks. So banks that wanted to get into this space could not do that. But guess what? Trump got into office a couple of weeks after SAP 121 was repealed and SAP 122 was brought in place, which kind of opened a level playing field for everyone. And those are the kind of progress we want to see. Okay. So I will pause there. I just wanted to use that video to let you kind of know, the progress that is being made at the global level for this industry. And one particular thing he said, I actually wrote it down here, is it is as big as it can get. Okay, never ever underestimate the power of Web3, digital finance, tokenization, DeFi, and all that. Never ever. Now, if it would be dead, it would already be dead by now because people have done. I worked on a project. Now, this is a personal experience. I worked on a project from 2022 to early 2023, and it was shut down overnight. That is how bad people want these things dead. But it has come this far, and it's not going to fail. I can assure you that. Okay, so I think there's also one more thing that I really want to say is that a lot of us got into this industry, because we believed in it. Okay, and this could be your cue as well to have a think about what is next, okay, and whether you want to get involved in Web3, in digital finance. There are so many segments of this. There are so many parts that come together, and this could be a thing for you to think about whether you want to. It is highly demanding. Okay, sometimes it will drive you nuts. We are working in a phase where there's nothing clear. Everyone is flying blind. I can tell you that for sure. But we are building for the future in a making ways. Okay, so can we mute the background noise, please?
Please go ahead.
Oh, sounds good. All right, so I would like to just take a pause in that because I could actually go on and on, but I know we're quite limited on time. Now I'd like to have it open, just get into the dialogue. I know we have some questions that people really want to have answers to, so we get to the questions right now. So I'm at the Q&A. So the floor is yours, the moderators and everybody else.
Afis, thank you very much for sharing that video. I mean, at some point, I thought I was also in the hall because, my attention was just in the video and I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much for sharing. So, yeah, we have somebody's hand raised. I saw Bakari Balkis. Do you want to go ahead? I don't know if it's still her. Bakari Balkis, do you want to say something?
No, it was a mistake.
Okay, fine.
So, I thought we had some pre-submitted questions that we're going to
yeah. So we just move straight into that. We'll move straight into the questions we already prepared for you. So the first is, what exactly is Web3? What is Web3 and how does it relate to digital finance? We are curious. Thank you.
Okay, that's actually a good question and a great place to start because it's always good to start with the basics. And I really want to make sure there are no technical jargons flying around, so it's a good place to start. One thing I always like to say is anything I say today, or everything I've said so far, they're just my views and my views only. They don't represent the views of my employer or any organization I might be affiliated with. It's just things I know, things I think about, and things I love to share. Just my views and views strictly. So, what is Web3? Some people still call it a buzzword, but it's not a buzzword for me anymore. It's actually a realistic word because I'm living in it and I'm making a living from it. So, yeah, it's quite an interesting concept. I would take us down the memory lane. Okay, Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. Some people argue that we are actually in between Web 2 and 3, so something like Web 2.5. Web 1. And think of all of this as the internet. It's all about the internet and the future of the internet. Web 1 was entirely read-only, meaning you could only consume information from the internet. You have static websites like the early Yahoo pages. Okay, I could always use that as examples. Just static, you're looking at it, you can only consume. And then Web 2 came many, many years later, and it became very interactive. And Web 2 is like what most of us will know now, because we have the social media where you can consume, you can upload, you can share. Okay, you have mobile banking apps, okay, where you can do your transactions on the go. You have the fintech apps as well for other payment service platforms. So Web 2 became interactive. So we went from reading only to actually, reading and giving back, interactive, two-way. But Web 3 is saying, hey, we want to change all of that. Okay. Web 3's focus is decentralization, okay, and building the infrastructure for the digital economy. And what does that mean? What that means is that we want to try as much as possible, because there are so many inefficiencies, okay, when you look at the current banking system, okay, and when you look at the way, assets or wealth is being transferred, right? You do transaction, I hear people complain all the time, especially on X, right, on Twitter, hey, they're calling banks out, I transferred just 1,000, you took 100, or I received money from someone, you took 15 naira. Now, all of those things people don't want. And there's so many inefficiencies as well. Transactions are slow, transactions are delayed, even cross-border transactions are slow, even more expensive. If someone is transferring $200 across the border, maybe from one country to Nigeria, the average charge for that transaction is 8.5%. Just imagine that. So we came along and say, let's remove all this centralized authority, which is the whole concept of decentralization. Okay, there is no single authority. Okay, we're going to centralize, and then instead of relying on the middleman, because if I want to send money to someone on this right now, okay, through the blanket platform, as you can explain that earlier, I'm going to use an app, I'm going to use some wherever, even if I'm using Coinbase, okay. Now I want to intentionally make sure I'm not mentioning any brand, because I don't want to market or demarket. Okay, so I will refrain away from mentioning specific brands, but to make things more relatable, I might use examples of known entities. Okay, with decentralization, we're trying to stop that, okay, and just get things done while you're just interacting with protocols, okay, smart contracts as they call it, okay, and that's it. So instead of relying on banks or relying on big tech and relying on transactions and interactions that would happen with middlemen, we're going to take a fee or even charge you, in addition to taking the fee, charge you hidden fees. Okay, we are saying let things happen peer-to-peer via blockchain technology. Okay, so that is Web3. And then what is then digital finance? Digital finance and Web3, they come together to be the next evolution of finance and the next evolution of the internet. So Web3 represents the next stage in digital finance, where financial infrastructure is open source. Open source means it is out there. If anyone here knows about blockchain technology, you can actually go into any blockchain that is open and permissionless and start making tweaks to it. But the thing is, when you're done making your tweaks or you're done doing whatever it is you want to do, it needs to pass for consensus, which is because there are governance to these protocols. So people have to vote to say what you've done. What is the value proposition for the community? Is it good for us or is it not good? So they are open source, they are decentralized, they're permissionless, and they're user owned. Okay, and how this relates to digital finance is we have DeFi protocols, for example. With Web3, you can lend. Okay, if you have assets, okay, you can imagine if you want to borrow money from a bank today, you're going to go through filling forms, go into a relationship manager, go into the bank, a lot of others, KYC, AML. KYC, AML is to be done on DeFi platforms, all right? But there is a lot that comes with that, and there's even no certainty that you will get a loan. I think there's this saying that maybe only the rich get the loan, and the people that are not rich do not get loans. Which is what I say the rich keep getting richer. But with digital finance, the DeFi protocols are there for you to lend, to trade, for you to even buy insurance policies, for example, without you having to worry about all of that. Okay, if you had your money today, okay, you can maybe buy USDC and move it into a platform, maybe have a compound or Banky, and you could have that as your capital, and then you use that capital to then borrow money. Okay, And you have all of this. I'm telling you, as long as you provide your ID, your residence and stuff, all of this will take you less than 5 minutes. And we also have instances where you could actually be holding, say, one Bitcoin, okay, which as of today is maybe 80,000 euros. But you need some cash, but you appreciate the fact that Bitcoin it was more than $100,000 a couple of weeks ago. So you're saying, instead of me just selling my Bitcoin, okay, why don't I just hold on to it and use it as a collateral on a DeFi platform, and I get maybe $10,000 or 10,000 naira, which I need right now. Okay, so you put that into a DeFi platform. Okay, you keep it there as a collateral, which might even earn yield on because they are holding a fund. Okay, and then you take out what you need. I know people who have done this to pay their rent, for example, who have done this to fund their tuition because they're holding assets, and the whole concept of holding these assets is hold for long. Okay, you're not. Some people buy and sell, but some people want to hold, as we call it, HODL. They want to hold, not HOLD. We call it HODL, HODL. You want to hold it for long to be able to benefit from the capital appreciation. So that is one of the key benefits when we're talking about Web3 and its relationship to digital finance. And we have tokenized assets as well. We have decentralized autonomous organizations which are replacing centralized governance. So instead of having central banks, all right, we're having these DAOs, which make sure that everything is decentralized, because that is in the name, decentralized autonomous organizations. Then everything is autonomous as well. You are just interacting with smart contracts. When you go to this website, you will see the terms and conditions or terms of service that you click on, but it makes it very clear that you're not interacting with someone behind the screen. You're just interacting with contracts. So there's no one to sue, but there is a governance in place that makes sure that things run according to plan. Okay, we have the stable coins and the CBDCs. CBDCs are the central bank digital currencies, which banks, I think we have the e-Naira, for example. I'm not really sure how functional it is. Okay, and then you have the stablecoin like USDC, PayPal USD, USDT, and the likes of them, which are reshaping how value is stored and transferred. And then on-chain identity and reputation systems. So digital finance, in a nutshell, is how we deliver and assess and innovate financial services using technology rather than what we've always known, rather than what was traditional and conventional. It is the foundation of a more connected, and that is why I like when I talk about things, I talk about very passionate about financial connectivity. The digital finance is foundation for a more connected, faster, cheaper, efficient, and inclusive global economy. And Web3 is the frontier, pushing it beyond banks and borders. Yeah, I hope that's been really helpful, and it does justice to the question.
Hafiz, thank you so much for that response. It was very, very insightful. For me, I'm just hearing that Web3 is decentralized, and with Web3 in digital finance, there are so many bottlenecks that would be passed by during financial transactions. You made mention of banks. I personally will be so happy if I don't have to go to the bank and spend so much time at the bank trying to resolve some financial transactions that could be done in probably minutes or seconds. And that's really insightful to know that Web3 can do all of that. And I hope everyone present here is paying attention and learning as much as they can. So for me, my question is, there are so many of us on this call that are accountants, we are finance professionals. Want to know how will Web3 and digital finance impact accounting professionals, and what skills will be essential to thrive in this space, I mean Web3 space?
All right, another good question as well, and I believe this is one that's really personal too. Okay, because what I hear from that question is, how does this affect our careers? Okay, right, and think of all of this as new opportunities. Okay, I talked about DeFi, and when for professional services firms, for example, okay, there are opportunities out there. In my current role, I work with at least 3 advisors, okay, because nothing is clear, nothing is cast in stone, nothing is black and white. Okay, there's no standard out there that kind of really deals with everything Web3. The FASB has come along with a guidance on setting digital assets, but it is highly restrictive. Okay, yeah, it scopes out so many things. And even before that guidance came along, it came along just it was published end of December 2023, and then it became effective December 2024. Where a lot of entities will be adopting it from January 2025, okay, except if you early adopt it. Now, before then, there's really nothing out there that kind of really speaks to how to account for digital assets, NFTs, cryptocurrencies, stable coins. You know, I don't want to go into the nitty-gritties because this is not an accounting session where we're kind of dealing with classification. But all I'm trying to say is, for so long, again, we were flying blind, okay, but we were just working within the confines of what we could see out there. I think in 2019, the IFRS Interpretations Committee published an agenda decision that kind of said, oh, maybe you can only treat it as inventory or as a tangible asset. But the FASB treats it otherwise. Okay, they treat it as just an intangible asset, except maybe we're talking about tokenized securities. So there's a gap. Okay, and I'm saying all of that because I really want to say that the basics for us, okay, and now in part of our accounting and finance professional, is that we need to learn. Okay, we need to be open to learning. 90% of what I know in this space is just me, just rolling on my sleeves. Okay, I kind of really always have my sleeves rolled up anyway. Just me rolling up my sleeves and saying, okay, I'm going to figure this out. Okay, I'm going to just try and figure this out. Okay, you have this challenge, you have this problem. Let's figure it out. Let's find a solution that works, not just for what you're trying to do, but something that works for the business. And that is the kind of mindset that will make you thrive in the space as an accounting and finance professional. Okay. Never ever think, oh, it's too complex. Okay. Never ever think it's too complicated. Think, how do we solve for clarity? How do we solve for growth? How do we solve for maximum value? How do we solve for the best interest of our stakeholders and the business? Okay. And so first thing is just be open to learning. As I talk to you, I probably have more than 40 to 50 articles and things that I want to read that I just bookmarked that I haven't had a chance to read. A lot of things I just glanced through, just want to know, the key thing they're talking about, and I know that, okay, I'm going to come back to this. So the basics is learn how transactions work. I talked about reading white papers earlier, because with the white papers, and this is our publicly available information. Okay, you don't need special access or to pay to scale a firewall to access them. Any network that is permissionless out there, even the permission networks, you have their resources. It's all open. Learn how transactions work, especially on Bitcoin and the layer ones, okay? And understand stable coins because they make payments way easier, okay? And the opportunities for us, talking about DeFi and blockchain auditing as accounting professionals, these companies will continue to spring up, okay? We've gone from the days where we just had banks to where we have now neobanks, okay? Now we're going to be having all these, virtual asset service providers, or depending on the kind of license and the regulation they're operating under, we're going to have all these companies or entities that would be running the show, for digital assets. So companies as well as individuals need experts who can track transactions on blockchain ledger, and I think this is the most rigorous or the most demanding part of everything Web3 accounting. Okay, the data. When you're talking about big data, okay, I think you really will experience it when it comes to blockchain. One transaction on a blockchain, you want to try and make sense of it. There's a lot of information, okay, let alone, and a lot of these blockchains have instant finality, okay, and they can run. Some of them can run tens of thousands of transactions in a second, okay. So imagine how many transactions pass through them in a day. And if you're working in that kind of company, or you're working as an auditor to kind of audit that kind of, I've seen companies that went for audits and the audits were just abandoned. First the auditors didn't even know what to do, okay, and then the companies themselves didn't have the right data. So data governance, data harmonization is a really big challenge. So if you are able to kind of really focus on that, understand how to track transactions on blockchain as an accountant, or as a company that is in this space, it would be really good. Then tokenized assets and the accounting for those as well. I talked about the accounting frameworks earlier. It is kind of gray, but common sense will always prevail. If you know where to check, if you know who to talk to, have the right network, have the right resources. Okay. And businesses are moving into crypto payments, tokenized real estate, and NFTs. And someone has to record and report all of this. You need to know how to record them, and you need to learn. Just to mention it, I'm open to anyone that has questions on these things. You can always reach out to me, LinkedIn or whatsoever, and I will definitely be willing to help. And then there's a regulatory advisory as well. Web3 is new and complex, and financial experts who understand compliance will be in high demand. Okay, so as an accountant or a finance professional, you could also just try to acquire a skill in that aspect. There's so many free learning resources online. Okay. My company, for example, has the Avalanche Academy, where you can go and learn things. We also have the Our Explains, where we bring industry leaders together for just to discuss topical issues. Okay, I was listening to one just about 2 days ago. We were talking about DeFi, and it really opened my mind. It broadened my knowledge about DeFi. Even though I've been in this space for a while, I heard new things from very learned colleagues. Some of them professors, some of them financial lawyers. And that's what I think I mentioned it before, that we say P2P, but when you're talking about DeFi, it is actually more of person or peer to protocol, because there is no person on the other end that you're interacting with smart contracts. So those are really, really little stuff. Okay. So, be open, learn. I'm learning as well. I'm still learning a lot. I do a lot of self-reading. Last year, I entered the Crypto Accounting Academy because I wanted to learn about the treasury aspect of all of these things. It doesn't relate to my day job, but I wanted to improve on the skill and understand what smart contracts are. Learn how financial agreements can run automatically on blockchains and all that. I'd like to wrap this question up, that the big idea is that Web3, because people have this fear. Okay? It's just like the same way people fear that AI we're gonna maybe take their job. AI is not going to take your job. Web3 is not going to take your job. Web3 isn't replacing finance professionals. Okay, it is creating new high-value roles. The question for you, which I want to take away, is: will you adapt or will you be left behind? So that's my take on that question.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Afis, for providing your response to that question. It's very important to know that Web3 is just like it's here to stay, and we just have to keep ourselves skilled up so that we stay abreast of this new emerging technology. So thank you for that question. I would like to advise everyone to have a pen or a paper, or just use a note app on your phone to take down some key things, because trust me, I've learned so much just in the middle. I've spent just about an hour, and I've learned so much. So I would like to tell everybody to also do the same. We have Azan Nuruddin and Hope. So do you have any contribution to make to the question? Thank you.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you for the insightful information. So my questions is how does fintech, what role does fintech play in the development and adoption of Web3 technology?
Okay, that's a good question, and thank you for asking, Zan. What role does fintech play in the development and adoption of Web3 technologies? Okay, Web3 technology is out there, okay, but it would not run itself. Okay, we need people, which is why I kind of say that I work in a company, for example. All we do is just build and build and build for people to scale, to adopt. We examine the use cases, and then we provide the solutions. Okay, we know what people want, we know where the technology is going, and we are actively building for that. Okay, I'll give you an example, and this is actually something that happened just 3 days ago. Okay, we've had instances where, bear in mind, okay, a lot of the big banks in the world, a lot of TradFi, they never really wanted Web3. Okay, because they saw it as a threat first, and then they have all this, it's bad, it's fraudulent. So look at all it's terrorist financing, but terrorist financing is happening everywhere. Even in the biggest banks, which is why they all have all this KYC, AML. Nothing is perfect. There'll always be cracks. Okay, that's what I mean. So look, it's bad. North Korea is on this. There'll always be acts. People steal from banks all the time. Even staff steal, or all sorts of things happen. All sorts of switch devices. But we've had instances where these big institutions then realized, I think I'm going to mention names there so that I kind of really drive it home. We have BNY Mellon, for example. We have BlackRock, the biggest asset management in the world. We have JP Morgan. We have Goldman Sachs. All of this have one thing or the other going on Web3. They have something going on blockchain. BlackRock, for example, has found a way to, which is a fund management organization, has found a way to settle, investment and yield faster by building on the blockchain. Because it's fast. You can. I mentioned that some blockchains can process tens of transactions in a second. So what bank can do that? What infrastructure behind the bank can probably do that? At this point, I don't know. We've seen instances where, I think it's JP Morgan, they came up with this kinesis earnings program where they are using it to tokenize assets. Okay. And asset tokenization is a different ball game. Okay, if I want to go into that, maybe we can have a 3.1 version of my presence on this show. Okay, because tokenization is a different ball game. Because you take a real world asset and then you put it into a legal wrapper like an SPV, and then you bring it on. Okay, you've seen instances where people can buy properties with just their stock. Okay, you can have an Apple stock, for example. I use it to buy property, and then you sell that property. So a lot is happening. Okay, so I'm telling you now about institutional use cases. Okay, so all of these entities are coming on board and saying, hey, we want to do this, we want to do that. I remember a statement a while ago. I think it was the CEO of a top bank in the world, one of the top 3 banks. I don't want to mention the name, but if you Google what I'm saying, you will see it. Where we said, over my dead body, will we embrace crypto? Or will we embrace Web3 or something like that? I tell you, that bank right now is building crypto. Okay, so how they're coming along is they just need to understand the value. Okay, they need to understand the value. Now, there's been this concern about, okay, we want to come on board. Web3 is open, like I said, it's decentralized, it's permissionless, it's open. You can query any transaction on a blockchain if you know how to. Okay, so banks and traditional financial institutions, they have this concern because privacy is important to their transactions. So a lot of them have this concern about the openness of Web3 and the blockchain. I had a post on LinkedIn a couple of days ago where I said, blockchain is open, but privacy is critical. Okay, and what our team did in this case is we looked at the use case, we looked at what institutional and use cases and enterprises, what they really want. And we kind of said, okay, we can actually help you. Okay, you want the advantage, you want the benefits of putting things on Web3, on the blockchain, because it's faster, it's open, it's immutable. Immutable means no one can change it. Anything you do on the blockchain cannot be changed, so you don't have to worry about, or who changed this record, or did someone log onto my computer to tweak something. Return on the blockchain is immutable. Okay, so we have all these benefits, but we don't want transactions to be open. So how can we solve this? And we say, it's okay. We're just going to bring in, a solution that will keep your transactions confidential and private, while still maintaining, your security needs, the compliance, because if you're a bank or you're a regulated entity, you need to comply. So whatever it is you're doing on the blockchain has to be compliant with demands of your regulators. So compliance is sorted, security is sorted, transparency is sorted, fair reporting is sorted, but above all of that, privacy and confidentiality is sorted. And that's what we call the encrypted ERC standard. So there is a lot that can be done. You can move a permissionless chain to more like a private chain or a permission chain. There is a lot you can do for all these fintech companies to come on board and just adopt. Okay, and we're actually going to get there. I was on a webinar recently where we said TriFi is ready to embrace crypto. And I said, we've actually been long ready for them. Okay, we're just waiting for them to make the move. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I hope so too. Thank you, Apis, for doing justice to that question. It's just like saying, oh, we knew that Web3 can come with some challenges, but instead of running away from the challenge, why not just create policies that try to reduce the issue of cybersecurity and the like? So yeah, thank you for that answer. On this call, I'm very sure we have business people. I mean, I'm also a business person. I run a business. We also have students and we have professionals on the call. And that leads me to my next question. How do you think Web3 can be practically applied in business, education, and everyday financial activities?
Okay. I think I've actually answered some of this, because I kind of talk through real life cases as I discuss through these questions. Web3 sounds futuristic, and it still sounds futuristic. And this is why I said earlier that some people will say we are only at Web 2.5, okay, but I believe we are even at Web 3.5 already. Okay, but let's keep it at Web 3. What I understand from the question is, how can it actually help us in our everyday lives? Okay, so I talked earlier about transactions are immutable. Okay, so it is real time, it is tamper-proof. Okay, so blockchain provides this immutable audit trails, and it cuts time on reconciliation and error checking. So if you have a business and your records are being run on blockchain, now the whole concept of blockchain is it's unfortunately complicated. Okay, I agree. Blockchain literacy is a huge problem. Okay, well, we will get to the point where, just imagine when the internet just came around, right? Everyone probably struggled to even understand it, but now a lot of us are very conversant with how to use the computer, how to use the internet. It's second nature to us. We will get there with Web3 and blockchain and distributed ledger technologies as well. Okay, and there are organizations that are actually making it very easy. Anyone here, and I mean it, anyone here on this call can actually set up their own blockchain in less than 10 minutes. Yeah, you don't need to go to tech. There are organizations out there that have made it very easy for you. Very, very easy for you. You spin up your own L1, you just go in there, it's just a click through, and then you have it running. And when you set it up, you can even have your own tokens. The question about your tokens is what value, because the prices or the value of these tokens, it's derived from their use cases, the inherent value in them. So we are really making progress. So if you are a business, you could have. I'll tell you something. There is a company that I know recently. I wanted to do fundraising, okay, and they did that fundraising on another cloud L1, and they raised $73 million. They weren't even expecting that much. Okay, $73 million fundraising on the blockchain. Now, usually when you want to do fundraising, what do? Maybe, you do all your prospectus, you do all the jingles, you go out there, get all the finance house and investors, you bring at least maybe 5, 6, 7 professional bodies together. They run on a blockchain, issued note licenses, and raised $73 million. That is a practical use case in a business. Okay. Yeah. Check it. It's called Beam Note Sale, BEAM. Then Note Sale is NODESALE, Beam Note Sale. The raised $73 million. It was towards the end of last year. Okay. So you have and with that fundraising, you have the record of everyone who subscribed to the transaction, how much they paid. It's all there. No one can change it. So that is a real life use case. And because it's all there, it helps you cut time on reconciliation and error checking. So imagine if you're a business and then you deal with AP and AR or a lot of cash and all that, and all of these are built, and there are solutions out there. There are many solutions out there. I was saying recently, as at my last count, I'm talking about crypto ledgers, all these AP, AR platforms. There's so many. As at my last count, there are at least 80 solutions out there that can help you track transactions on a blockchain. Now, none is perfect because blockchains have different features and different capabilities. Some of them have multi-chain or multi-layered architecture. So not one solution or not one sub ledger will be able to capture everything. But the truth is, when you have one, or you have the combination of one or two, your life and your work will be made a lot easier. So that's automated auditing, automated controls. Everything is there for you to see. Fine. And then let's talk about smart contracts as well, because we're talking about how you can practically apply this in business and every financial activity. Smart contracts. Okay, you have all these smart contracts where someone said to me, or maybe liking this to DocuSign or things like that. I said maybe yes or no, but not exactly. Okay, smart contracts is they are auto executing. Okay, they are there. They know what you want. You know what you want. You put in your terms. They execute for you automatically. Easy peasy. And people, and these are actually recognized to the extent that they are regulated. Okay, so some people will say, why do I need a lawyer though? You still need a lawyer, okay? But these things make life and your work very, very easy. They reduce smart processes. They reduce the risk of fraud. I know, and when you come down to payments, we're talking instant cross-border payments. Now, we're not talking, I want to send money and then fine, we have PSPs, okay, where you can send money from one country to another and it arrives in a matter of seconds or in a couple of minutes. But on the blockchain is a different ballgame entirely. Things are getting done and they're getting done way faster. And it's not just about the speed, it's also about the fact that it is secure and you're paying less fees, okay? And then also, talk about tokenization, okay? You could bring an asset, wrap it, and tokenize it and put it on the blockchain, and then you can sell it there, and everything works. But there has to be a kind of on-chain and off-chain connection between the two, because if you tokenize an asset on-chain, there is a possibility that someone else, or if you want to be fraudulent, you can actually still sell off that asset in the real world, which is off-chain. So there has to be a connect between an asset that is represented on the blockchain and what you have off-chain in the real world. So that connection exists, but people will always try to find a way to cut corners. Okay, think of it this way: when ATMs were newly introduced in Nigeria, okay, I have this experience from school. I know people who would go to the ATMs and withdraw cash, and they would think, oh, I can actually still go back instantly into the banking hall, and try to withdraw the same cash. Okay, and I don't know whether I worked for them or not, but I know a lot of people touted that's thought to say, just withdraw the cash outside first, go quickly into the banking hall and try to get the cash out again. And that is the risk of fraud that you have with tokenization of real world assets. For accountants like us, I've seen organizations where the financial statement audited and then they put it on the blockchain for everyone to see. Okay, say, oh, all our investors, the members of our community, this is our financial statement. Help yourself. It builds transparency for investors and regulators. And there are so many other things. I've seen use cases for supply chain and logistics. I've seen use cases for, let's talk about NFTs. Okay, I've seen instances where people wanted to attend a concert. One of the top pop female artists in the world currently, but the tickets to the concerts were tokenized. And you have that in a digital form in an NFT. You have an NFT to yourself, but not just the NFT. That NFT grants you access to the concert. Okay, so there are so many use cases in the world, where even healthcare, we have an instance recently where the California DMV, they put the whole process of issuing driver's licenses, they put it on a blockchain. So you don't all your records are there. And this is also very important. You can ask, well, why are they doing this? Okay, well, it is also because it is open, it is transparent, and it is immutable, and it is faster. It is way, way, way faster. So there are so many things you can do or use the blockchain for in your practical day. As I'd like to say, a few practical use cases in Nigeria or Africa. I think the number one thing for us is remittances. Okay, instead of using maybe Western Union, you can just use your USDT or stable coins and you settle instantly with lower fees. Okay, I talked about DeFi earlier. You have access to loans and investments without anyone bothering you about. You have some form of collateral, or you have an asset that is illiquid and you don't want to sell off, or you need some quick cash. put it as a collateral, take out the cash out, no questions asked. You've proven your liquidity, you've proven your asset worth, you're going to get it. Business payments as well. You know, I'll say some companies could accept, it will do a lot of companies good in Nigeria if they accept stable coins, because it helps reduce currency fluctuation, and is also an edge against inflation. You know, so those are really useful tips. The Web3 is already here. The use cases are there. Adoption is going, and it will only continue to grow. So I would just like to wrap it that up. And everyone should just prepare for it. Have it at the back of your mind.
Hafiz, thank you so much for the response to your question, or to question asked. It has really been a great conversation so far. I love the insight, and I know the audience also have been enjoying this conversation.
I
I'd
really hope
like
so.
to bring attention. They are, I'm very sure. I would really like to bring to our attention that we have a lot of things to cover, and in the interest of time, I would like to go straight into the next question. Okay, so you mentioned how Web3 affects the financial institution earlier when you were asked about what Web3 is. You mentioned how Web3 limits the protocols when it comes to financial transactions. So I would like to ask, how will Web3 and digital finance disrupt traditional financial institutions, and what opportunities or risks does this present?
Good question. Okay, there's this Cold War. Okay, and it's been on for long between traditional financial institutions, just go TradFi, okay, and Web3, and nobody really wanted Web3 to scale to grow. Okay, I talked about a project I worked on at Meta where we built something fantastic. You know, something that was pretty much foolproof. Nothing is too big to fail, but we knew we built something really important. I'm talking about the Libra project, okay, and everyone can read about that and what it represented. We built it to the point that, you know, it was stable coin backed. Okay, you're gonna have the Libra USD, Libra Euro, and all those things, and it wouldn't be so easy to move money. That's, let's say A and B, you know, took a taxi together, okay, and A decided to just pay for the taxi. On your way, or maybe the next day, B can just say, hey, you paid for the taxi last night, okay, how much is my share? Maybe 2,000 naira. As you're chatting, okay, in the WhatsApp chat or in the Facebook Messenger chat or wherever, you don't need to go to another app outside WhatsApp or whatever messaging platform you're using. Maybe go to your bank app or whatever, you instant, you know, the way you click plus and then you have share photos, share location, you would have it there, send money or request money. You know, we had built the technology to that point, you know, and we had even established entities across the world in major countries where we knew that cross-border transactions were huge. We're talking about Thailand, you know, a lot of Singapore, a lot of countries in LATAM, South Africa, Nigeria. Now, at the point I was even being touted to come to Nigeria to kind of scale that business. It was a subsidiary of Facebook or Meta, as it's now called. Yeah. And I didn't know whether it was gonna happen or not anyway, but, you know, I've been told, hey, this goes ahead, you know, you stand a big chance of getting to run this for us. No, and, you know, people just didn't want this, you know. Meta, for example, as I don't follow the numbers as much as I used to anymore, but I think they have maybe an average of 2.2 billion users every month. Okay, so if you bring that kind of technology into people's hands, you're indirectly making Meta the biggest bank in the world, you know. And then instead of using USD or Euro or whatever local currency, you know, they're gonna be using Libra, you know, Libra USD, because it was multifunctional, it was multi-currency. But so there was this concern, and we built something perfect, Okay, I know something is really perfect, like I always say, but we built something too strong that it shouldn't have failed. Okay, everything was done, but the Department of Treasury in the US and some particular people, and I can mention names, I can mention some departments because all the information is there. We were working with David Marcos then, who is now the head of Lightspark. He was the head of Meta Financial Technologies then. He talks about this all the time. And recently, I also saw a post from him where he was saying people are asking whether to bring Libra back because this was the mind of stablecoins as you see it today. I say no, Libra is dead, it's gone, let it go. Let's just focus on building something bigger and better. Now, long story short, this was killed politically because the Fed. No bank has 2 billion customers in the world. Okay, so if you put that power in the hands of one entity, a lot could go wrong, and then it could weaken the dollar. But then it wasn't just about the dollarization or re-dollarization of or weakening the dollar. It was also about a lot of the big banks that didn't want this to go ahead because they don't take the food out of their mouths. So people or traditional financial institutions and enterprises believe that Web3 is going to kill the banks. But my message and what I've always believed is that, just like to say, the sky is big enough for every bird to fly. Okay, we can exist in parallels, and then we could have places where we connect or we have interoperability. Web3 isn't killing banks, but banks that fail to innovate will struggle. And this is why I talked about some banks saying it's over my dead body, I'm going to embrace this, but they are all coming on board. Okay, they are realizing that they need to have the shift. The disruption is there, that's quite all right. Banks have been around for centuries, and DeFi and Web3 is shaking things up. We have the disruption. We are saying no need for middlemen, no need for hidden charges. Let's do direct lending. Let's do direct borrowing. Let's do payments without interference. Let's do instant payments. Let's reduce reliance on traditional banks. We want to have borderless transactions. We want to have decentralized banking. No need to queue, at your banks when you have wallets that can actually, just get all of that done for you. So the challenges and the risks are there also because there are regulatory uncertainty. We don't know how this industry is going to be eventually regulated. There's been a lot of positive developments lately, but so far, regulation has been that it was stifling and it's meant to kill the industry. I always believe in innovation to come first before regulation. So innovation should precede regulation because if regulation comes first, innovation will not happen. Let people innovate, let them think about new things to build, and then you can now come about how to regulate it. Okay. The security risk are there. There's volatility. The crypto markets fluctuate a lot. So businesses need to know have risk management strategies. You have to come up with a treasury strategy, how much of your assets you keep in USD to hedge against inflation and things like that. But the Web3 will disrupt the traditional financial institution, but it is not here to kill them or take them away. We can exist in co-parallels, and together we will win.
Together we will win.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that your final statement. Together we will win. And you also mentioned something that the sky is big enough for everybody to fly.
100%.
And yeah, I really agree with that. I mean, looking at the situation in Nigeria, we have the traditional banks and then we have the fintechs, right? The likes of OPay, PalmPay, MoneyPoint. I mean, when they initially started, everybody was skeptical that, I don't know where these banks are. I don't know their fiscal location and the likes. But with time, people started adopting the banks. People started using the banks, and I can confidently say that it has really made life easier when it comes to making payment, doing online transaction and the like. So yeah, thank you for that question. I'll be moving to the next question, although you partially answered it while you were speaking. But I just wanted to add something in about 2 minutes. What do you think is the biggest operational challenge to finance and accounting professionals in Web3? And how do you think this can be managed?
Yeah, this side is subjective, because different people with different experiences, depending on your role in Web3. Okay. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, I wear different hats on a particular day. Some days I'm wearing technical accounting hat, some days I'm wearing finance business hat, some days I'm wearing a controller hat. I actually not some days, sometime, but I wear all these hats in the day. And in each of these different roles, okay, I experience different challenges. Okay, it could be, oh, what is the technical complexity here that we need to solve for? Or is this agreement in place? Is it in order? Or have we done the reconciliation rights here? Or how do we scale this that will make sure that we are monetizing correctly, we are operating within the comments on the standard and all the regulatory requirements. So there is a whole lot. Okay, there is a whole lot that comes with being a finance and accounting professional in this industry. But if you're someone who is working with maybe a very specific or defined role, and I'm like that because I am working across, we have the ecosystem, I'm working across 3 of the entities at least in the ecosystem, so it's quite broad. But if you say you're maybe an AP specialist and all what you do is vendors and payments, or you do with AR and all of that, a particular challenge you would face is the lack of standardization. Okay, I mentioned earlier that blockchain literacy is a huge problem, because different transactions, you could have a vendor send money to you or send funds to you from blockchain A. Okay, the way you might be able to read that transaction is not the same as when you're paying a vendor through blockchain B. Okay, so that is why we talk about interoperability. You want things to connect. You want things to just think about this. You use a Gmail, you use a Yahoo Mail, the interfaces are not the same. What they do, you send emails, you receive emails, you're able to communicate, right? That is it. It's the same with different blockchains, and different blockchains also have different levels. Some have subnets, some have, different layers. So it could be a bit complicated, and depending on where the origination and the source destination, what you will see or the data, the kind of data you have could be very different. So harmonization is very, very important. I'd like to say that traditional accounting systems weren't built to handle on-chain assets or real-time smart contract data or decentralized finance structures. So this creates friction between valuation, auditability, or traceability of transactions, and even regulatory alignment. So that is something. Standardization is something that we need to identify, and we need to try and work on. And this could be the biggest operational challenge if you're an accountant or a finance professional. I try to make a clear distinction between the two because you could be a finance professional, not an accountant, and you could be an accountant, not a finance professional. So if you are either or both of those, you might face some of challenges in that place. And we always talk about what financial data could be verified instantly. What if payments are settled in seconds globally with no intermediaries? Consumers want more control, more transparency, more value, things like that. How do you make sure that you have all of these things in place to add value and to make your business scale? Because speed is very important, and precision is also equally important. So it's not just about you make the payments, but are you actually making the payment to the right person? Because in TradFi you have bank accounts, maybe a small, maybe up to 10. I think new buyers are usually like 10. But in Web3 you have we have wallets, and wallet addresses are long, and I don't know, but it is an equivalent trust trying to kind of memorize a wallet address. So you just need to make sure that you have them stored somewhere, and that you're actually making transaction or dealing with the right person or the right counterparty. And this is one thing now I will do. If you want to send a transaction, I always say, send a test transaction first, which is probably $1, a fraction of the assets you want to send, and let the counterparty confirm that they received it. Once that is done, they can then send the rest of the information. Because if you send to the wrong party, it's gone. You can't reverse it. Like I say, it's immutable. If you send funds to the wrong entity, it's gone, unless that party decides to send it back to you. So it's an exciting space, but we are still building for so many things altogether. And the challenges are there, but it is all about data management, tooling, making sure you have the right tools. With the right tools, of course, you will be able to overcome most of these harmonization challenges or these standardization challenges. And it will bring me now to the treaties, and then I'll wrap up this question. Now, if you wanna, Web3 is not your typical startup or a typical kind of business, okay? Because things are very different in this space. One day you could be looking at your asset balance and be like, oh wow, that's $1 million. And you could go for lunch and come back and it's down to $10. Okay, because the market is volatile, right? Yeah. So you have to have strategies in place where you want to know, okay, do I diversify instead of just holding maybe one asset? Do I diversify, or do I edge some of this? You could do, long calls, short puts, just trading strategies, or you could also convert some of these into USDC to manage volatility and fluctuation, because they are pegged to actual currency, so they will not fluctuate that much. So there is a lot. But then 3Ts, I talk about: first, attract the right talents, okay? Very, very important. Then equip them with the right tools, because the tools will make or break you. You have the good tools, they will make you. And if you have the wrong tools, they will break you. And then the third T is train them. There is no point having the people and having the tools, but they don't know how to use it. So you need to be able to connect the 3Ts. The extra T is taxation, because it says certain things are certain in life, right? A few things are certain in life, and tax is one of them. Okay, always put at the back of your mind the tax implication of everything you do in Web3. Yeah, that's it from me.
Okay, thank you so much, Afis. The minimum risk appetite spirit in me would be so scared seeing that once I make a transaction, there's no going back. And I really hope that this challenge is going to be resolved soon, very soon, because as an accountant, we try to minimize such mistakes, especially if we're sending to wrong people. But thank you very much, Afis, again. It's been really, really great having you on this call. Okay, next on the activity of the day, I'll be calling on. Okay, before I go on to call on Mr. Nuruddin, I would like Mr. Olushola Babatunde to go on with his question. His hand has been raised for quite a time now, so please go on, Mr. Olushola.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ruth, and thank you so much, Afis. It has been a really insightful section, and I can tell you for free that blockchain is here to stay, and a lot of big banks has come to the realization that they need to get this done, and if they are not doing this, they'll just be behind. In fact, in Nigeria, in general, the max adoption will continue to skyrocket, right? And the recent announcement by Adeni of Sui, investing in semicolon, right? Because that's where I worked. So it shows that they are here to penetrate into Nigeria because they know we have the market and the skills to adopt and blow the trumpet, right? Yeah. So my question for you,
talking about the $1.3 million investment from
exactly,
yeah. We work together at Meta. He's a fantastic guy.
Yeah. Wow, that's good to hear. So yeah, my question to you, because it's a very big challenge for myself, right? Because it's just an eye opener as a finance person, adopting new this technology and where I work, right? So there are a lot of product that we are building that also encompasses all these blockchain and Web3. What are you? I think you've answered some of the question I want to ask in this in the last question that you took, right? So and that is the risk and the bottlenecks for companies that want to build their products around the blockchain and the Web3. So the second question for you is, can you recommend books or sites for somebody that or a finance person to read on how to manage was company portfolio on like you said, should I say the investment are very volatile. Let me just be like that. So we as a finance person, like Ruth has mentioned, we want to be on a safe place. How can we be on a safe place to manage company assets and also what can we do to maintain the company's, what's it called? Should I say, the company's goal in this industry? Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, okay, cool. And thanks for the question and the story behind it. Okay. Yeah, I was quite impressed when I saw the announcement from Adeni. I think it was on Wednesday. It said we're donating $1.3 million to education in Nigeria, specifically for Web3. Now that's a lot of money, and that's a lot of commitment. But it also shows a lot of belief in the tech and the vibrant ecosystem we have there. And I believe I expect that it will spoil a lot of interest for our people to tap into that and do the right things. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I think your question is a bit either-headed. The first, if I understand correctly, is what risk do we face in this environment? Okay. And the second part of it is you're asking for resources that you can go through or avail of to better manage your portfolio. Okay. I don't think of books, but I know of publications. Sorry, did you say something? Okay, I think you just acknowledged that.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. There are publications, okay, and like I said at the start, I'm involved in a lot of policy advocacy and a couple of activities for public benefits collaboration, because we're trying to push this industry and make sure that it gets the right recognition and it is known for good actors rather than something else. Okay, so you think about GBBC, the Global Business Blockchain Council, for example. They're always putting publications out there. There is a guy I follow on LinkedIn. Is into blockchain education altogether. It was a lot in Luxembourg, Andre Martini. So I will share the resource with everyone at the end. I think every day he posts about 1 to 2 publications. Okay, and these are things that would really open your mind to the scale of what is out there. He posts publications every day. So just think about it. Okay, yeah, there is so much, and I'm not talking 1 or 2 pages. I'm talking things that are 20, 30, 40 pages long. Okay, so there's a whole lot out there, and these are actually things that you might not really see if you just go to the internet and do a search. But if you are connected with the right people or you follow the right people, then like our people say follow who know road. You would actually get most of the information you learn. You need, and I always say a lot of the things I learned in the space were self-taught or self-learned. A lot of it, because I just got into I got into a job, and this is actually, I'll tell you a little bit of a story because I got into a job, and it was at the time where Meta was trying to go into stablecoin payments and trying to develop that. Yeah, my manager at the time just kind of really asked me, we have this, and then we have this and this and this and this. Okay, I was the second person on the team because it was a new team, technical accounting team, and all that. I was just the second person on the team. So I was looking for how to scale the team. He needed help. So I decided to hire him. I came on board. He said, well, we have this. He's been in the company then maybe for 3 or 4 months, and I just came on board. And so this is everything we have to look after right now. Okay, we have to support the business. And I just said, you know what? I'm new here. Okay, so I can as well look after the things that are very new. Okay, and as I got into all of this, I didn't shy away from, oh my goodness, that is blockchain technology. What do I know about it? That is payments, okay? Or we are building for games. We are building, all this VR headsets, gaming. Those are my team while I was on Meta. Focus on infrastructure, gaming, reality labs, and then Novi, payments, e-commerce. So I came from someone who was just working in the practice to someone who completely pivoted in less than 6 months to an industry person with a lot of experience. And this opened me to a lot of things. We're sitting down with lawyers, with engineers, with tax consultants, with a lot of people every day trying to figure out things. Because at every step of the way, there are always things for accounting to consider. So I would say, not everyone will always have the opportunity, but let it be opportunity meets preparedness for you, because you don't know when it's going to come. And do not be afraid to throw yourself at the big challenges. Small risk, small rewards. Okay, big risks, bigger words. I always tell myself, it needs to scare me, okay? If it doesn't scare me, it's not worth doing. Okay, if I'm just thinking about, oh my goodness, or no, it needs to scare me. People say, let your dreams scare you, let your ambition scare you. When it comes to my career, okay, this is not directly related to my career, okay, so it doesn't scare me. But when it comes to my career, what I want to do next, the next steps, everything, it needs to scare me. Okay, so that is one way to learn. Just be open in your workplace, and if the opportunities out there that's Web3 related, be willing to jump on them, be willing to assist. A lot of these networks or foundation have the angel program or the ambassador program where people volunteer for free. They have programs from time to time. You can get involved as well. They give swags, a lot of merch in return, but you also gain the exposure. Okay, that's also another place to stay. Again, I'll go back to LinkedIn. Okay, a lot happens there. A lot. I think more of X actually as Twitter, more of Twitter than LinkedIn, because there is a lot of info. I think the whole Web3 community is on Twitter, and then the educational aspect of the community, or the advocacy and the policy guys who are doing the public-private collaboration work, they're on LinkedIn, because that is where you have the connection or the network of professionals. Okay. To wrap it up, there are a few organizations out there. To wrap up the second question, actually, I'll go back to the part of the risk. There are a few organizations out there we have the Digital Asset Alliance, Digital Asset Coalition, okay, which I'm a part of. We have the Soda Finance Alliance, which I'm also a part of. We have a blockchain for Europe. We have blockchain association in Washington. Blockchain for Europe is based in Luxembourg and Brussels. You have a Web3 CFO forum, and we have the crypto CFOs as well. So just check some of this out, okay? And say you're a finance professional, they will do a bit of a screening, okay? But say you're a finance professional, you get involved. Now, if you get in, fine. If you don't get in, just keep pushing. There's also the Crypto Accounting Academy. Like I said, I would not be mentioning names specifically, but I needed to address this question. So this is not me marketing any brand or anything. The Crypto Accounting Academy is really good too. It's been led by Omar. It's very good. It publishes podcasts almost every week or every 2 weeks or thereabout. So there is a lot for you to learn. In terms of how to manage your portfolio, diversify your assets and make sure that you have the Web3 CFO forum as a treasury guide. I can share that as well, but it's also publicly available, which tells you what you need to pay attention to and how to manage your assets so that you are not caught on the back foot. And I talked about this earlier. Three key strategies. Okay, hedge when you have to. People think about hedge as only for financial instruments, but there is non-financial instrument hedges. Most of these cryptos and the digital assets are non-financial instruments. You can hedge them. Okay, do a put, do a call, do covered calls. Just hedge them, and you know that you are covered against the volatility to an extent. Okay, also diversify. There's no point having except you have it for a strategic purpose. There's no point having 10,000 units of a token when you can actually just spread that risk across board. Some will go up, some will go down. There's this guy Anthony Pomp who says he made it a duty to always buy Bitcoin, whether the price is high or whether the price is low, because he knows at the end of the day it's going to average out, and what Bitcoin will always grow anyway. So I talked about hedging and diversification, and also keep some of the assets in USDC. It's also a form of a hedge against inflation, against volatility. That's really important. Now, the risks in the business. First, it is there are many risks here, okay, but I would like to just speak on what we know to be the biggest. The biggest risk, from my point of view, that is not internal, okay, that is actually out of our control, is regulatory risk. Okay, we have regulators who are trying to say, and again, I said earlier, regulation must come after innovation, which means innovation should precede regulation. So come up with what you want to do it, start it, and let's see how it goes. Then we will come behind you and start observing you, and then we'll tell you, okay, we need you to do this, we need you to do that, or we'll bring it into a complete fold and say, this business has to be regulated. Okay, we've seen instances in Europe where people were doing crypto transactions, but then the European Parliament came up in 2023 and said, we're coming up with a legislation, markets in crypto assets, which is called MiCA, for example. So MiCA came up, and MiCA is regulating three broad classes of assets: electronic money tokens, which people are using called stable coins. And then we have asset reference tokens, for example, Pasos Gold, or any other asset that you have there out there that is backed by a reward asset. And then the other classes of cryptocurrencies. So that is a regulation. Okay, the OECD also recently introduced CAF, okay, crypto assets reporting framework. So regulation will come. Okay, the key issue or the key challenge with regulation is, for a long, long time, and I talked about the hostility, and we also listened to that very fantastic speech by President Trump at the very start. This industry has witnessed unfair hostility for too long, okay, and it's been touted to be something that's not. So there's a lot of effort to kind of correct that, find out bad actors. You could talk about the FTX and a couple of collapse. People do pump and dump. They pump a token and then the price crashes, or they say, "Oh, we're doing this," and then they pull a rug under your feet. And there's this instance of the Libra token in Argentina a couple of weeks ago, where it went to, I think, maybe a 4 billion market cap. I can't remember the exact numbers, but in the very day it crashed down to zero. Okay, and even the president of Argentina promoted it. So you can imagine, the level of the level of the damage done to that. So there's a lot of regulatory risk. The regulations are coming, okay, but we want to move from regulation by enforcement, which is what most were doing. We even look at the SEC in the United States. It was just, oh, this you're not doing this, and then we're taking you to court. In the last 2 weeks or so, the SEC has dropped cases against Coinbase, Gemini. I think just yesterday they dropped that case against Ripple, XRP. So a lot is changing, and then you begin to ask yourself, why did you come up with all these cases in the first place when now you're dropping them? Nothing has changed in terms of the fact that led to the lawsuits or to these cases. It is just because some people just didn't want this industry to be, or they didn't want it to succeed. So now nobody's fighting regulation. Okay, people are just saying, let's regulate with common sense. Okay, let your regulation be something that supports the growth of the industry rather than kill it. So I believe that regulation is the biggest challenge to the industry as it is. I know I've been speaking for a while, but I believe I kind of did justice to your two questions. So inshallah.
Okay, thank you so much, Afiz. Okay, there's a thumbs up there from Olushola, so I think he did justice to his question. Okay, all right, saying goodbye to manual, time-consuming reconciliation, auto-recon by ITL, Iwelabi Consulting Limited, streamlines the traditional 9-step reconciliation process into a single automated workflow, delivering a clear summary of your bank reconciliation. Now you can focus only on investigating discrepancies while our auto recon app handles the heavy lifting, ensuring accuracy, efficiency, and real-time insights. Join in welcoming Nuruddin Soremekun, our technology partner at Iwelabi Consulting Limited, as he shows us a demo of this reconciliation process.
Yeah, thanks very much for having me, Ruth. Good day, everyone. I'm Nuruddin Shiremekun, as I've been introduced, and I would just like to quickly walk us through a reconciliation tool. As you can expect when we talk about digital records, which accounting records are, when they originate from different sources, you need to close your accounting books eventually. And let's say you are having different software managing your accounting records or your bank and so on. You often have this need to make sure you reconcile to close your books, right? So that would have been an easy peasy if it's such that every party to that transaction record are able to have a common approach to recording a transaction, like especially having a transaction reference number that's used across organizations. But that's not the case, right? So when we have this inconsistency arising in the nature of transaction narrations, and you still want to be able to confidently match them efficiently, so that's where this tool comes in. It's trying to make sure you can reconcile records without meeting the prerequisites that they are originating from the same place, or that they have some consistency baked into them initially, okay? So with that said, I'll be sharing my screen to walk us through some two tables that will be representing a typical case of transactions from either side that while they are speaking to the same transaction, they do not have this unique transaction reference number. So please let me know when you can see my screen. Yeah. I hope my screen is clear.
Yeah,
Yeah,
coming up.
Okay,
Yes, we
great.
can see your screen now.
Yeah, thanks very much. So, for example, this is a typical case of you having some transactions in your ledger, right? We have these transactions up to like maybe 41 records thereabout minus the title row. And then you have the second one. These are transactions coming from your bank, for example. So this we have like maybe 38 rows when we are minusing the title row. And there are some columns of interest. You have the dates, you have the particulars. Particulars in this case standing for the narration column of the transactions. You have the credit amount, you have the debit amount, and then you have the type. So if you look at the second table as well, you see some similar columns like the narration column, the debit, the credit, and then the dates. Okay. So with that said, what you want to ensure before you use our tool is to make sure that your workbook has two sheets, with each sheet standing for the particular table you want to match to the other table, right? And also you want to ensure that the first row is the title row. It will help to drive a good user experience for you down the road, as you'll be seeing. So once this have been ensured, the next thing to do is let me download this particular sheet, and then I will upload to the tool. So I'm downloading it as an SLXX format. So it's downloaded already now. So with that downloaded, we'll be coming to the tool, and right here in the tool, you are able to see what we have. That okay, this is expecting you to upload your workbook, which is to have the two sheets as we've mentioned, and we are also guiding you to remember that the first row is the title row, right? So I click this, and then this is what I just downloaded right now, right? So I'll be uploading that. So once that's uploaded, you can see that immediately it generates some form fields for me on the fly. And that's for me to configure how I want this matching to go. So I can first speak to the kind of matching I want to do. Do I have exact transaction references, or do I have inconsistent narrations? Well, this is, let's say, an implementation detail, but the importance is you should know that it's an expensive computing process when we are trying to have these narrations matched, these transactions matched, even when you have inconsistent narrations. So if you can save the day with you having exact transaction reference, you just want to select that so that the route we use for the computation will be less computing resource intensive. So, but for now, I'm going to be taking inconsistent narrations because that's what this really is, as you see down the road when we have our matching results. Then it's asking us whether we want to use dates for matching. As the accounting professionals will attest, there are some transactions that are date sensitive, and there are some that they are not date sensitive. Like using date will just confuse you because there is a big lapse between the dates that is showing for the same transaction in either record sets. So for this case, I will be using the date for the matching. I'm going to run another demo wherein I wouldn't be using the dates. Now, the amount field mode. So it also happens that some transactions, they will be having two amount fields, that is the credit and debit, while some others are just having a single one. So here you are going to tell us which one is your records conforming to. So I'm going to be taking double as I've shown us for that particular sheet, right? So there are some optional fields there that I won't run us through. Therefore, some advanced use cases and they're optional. So I wouldn't bother talking about this for now. Already, I will just click generate form for both sheets because you still have more things to fill. You still have more things to fill because garbage in, garbage out. If you're unable to specifically tell us which columns are your narration columns, your amount columns, we'll just be making some guesses that are not worth it in a field like accounting where precision is non-negotiable. So the sheet, the solution has been able to extract the sheets in that workbook. The first sheet is ledger, the second one is bank, and has been able to pre-fill some of these form fields. You see, ledger being the name of the first sheet is the table one name. You can't edit this. And then the table range, it has extracted all the field cells in the sheet automatically, but it can still allow you to edit it in case this is not the entire range you want to match records against. Of course, you must make sure the first row here is your title row, as I've been mentioned severally. And then you go on to take the particular column you want to use as the narration column. So it has automatically extracted the cells of the first row, which is the title row, and is pre-filling this option element, these options for the select element based on that. So I'm going to be taking particulars as is what's representing the narration column. Then the credit amount field, since you've taken a double amount here, right? Double amount field mode. So it's asking you for those two per sheet. The credit amount field, I'm going to be taking credit amount. You can see it has shortlisted only number related fields to be as the possible options you can select here. So here I'll be taking debit amount. And then for the dates, I'm going to be going for dates. Yes, so you want to also be sure you formatted your dates to indeed be dates in your spreadsheet. That said, the second sheet has also been pre-filled, its sheet name, its field range, and then you have the narration column is particulars as well. In this case, the credit amount is credit amount, and then the debits, I'm going for debits, and then the dates. So with all of this done, the next thing is for you to just click on match records. By you clicking on match records, you are telling the solution to help you to match these transactions from these two different tables, and then we'll be dissecting the results together. So let me click on that. So it's just in a GV. It has downloaded the results. Can you see? This is the raw data I downloaded. This is the downloaded matched results from the solution upon clicking match records. I mean, that's just like in a second. So with that, the next thing now is I'm going to be uploading this guy for us to open in any spreadsheet software of our choice. So, but for me, I'll be going to Google Sheets to do that. So click open. Yeah, I'll be uploading. Yeah. Browse. So I have this. This is the guy I just downloaded right now. If you look at the dates, you can see it's 12/01, which is just in the last minute, right? So I'll be clicking open.
Okay. Can I come in here?
Yeah. So it's
Okay.
open already, and I mean, let's have our principal partner to work all
Thank you.
through the results. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nurudin, for the wonderful job. Thank you very much to our participants, to the speaker. Afis, thanks a lot for the wonderful job you've done on the topic of discussion today, right? So very briefly, yeah, what we are currently looking at, what Nurudin has been taking us through is a reconciliation process, right? For all of us on this, many of us rather, on this particular platform today, you agree with me that reconciliation is almost an everyday job within the finance and accounting space. And I mean, we are talking about Web3 and digital finance now, and you can't just imagine the amount of data that is flying around every day. Right now, before you even get to that level of automation where things are fast-tracked within the Web3 space, let's even come back to the Web2 that we are currently playing right now. which is that you transfer money from bank to somewhere else, and then you have to record manually and all of those things. And I mean, I have, as a consultant or as at ICL, one of the things that we focus on is finance transformation. And in the process of doing our job, we've come across different ways and manners at which people reconcile that takes forever. I've heard of people spending days to reconcile, weeks to reconcile. And why? Because, I mean, 2025, we still have people that wants to reconcile and literally print out the bank statement and then be ticking with the ledger one after the other to reconcile. And I mean, you want to reconcile 200 line items, and the next thing you are ticking one after the other, right? And then we have some other people who are a little bit advanced or even more advanced, where, I mean, the reconciliation process is now done with the likes of pivot table, using SUMIF, COUNTIF, and some other advanced Excel formulas. And even at that, you all agree with me that if you go ahead with your level of exposure and how solid you are within using Excel, playing with data, and you have to reconcile two different tables, I mean, your ledger and your bank, you still have to first go through series of, activities, about 9 of them, where you have to clean the data, you have to format the data, you have to sort the data, you have to, whether you are sorting by date, whether you are sorting by amount, you have to, I mean, there is a way you have to do all of these things before you then match one after the other. Some people use color coding, some people use XLOOKUP. And for those of us that are already advanced, that use XLOOKUP, SUMIF, and all these ifs and whatnot, you agree with me that even at that, you still spend hours in many times trying to reconcile in situations where the data are inconsistent. I mean, you can't use if lookup or XLOOKUP with data that are inconsistent. For example, like the kind of data we have right now, where transaction number 1 in the ledger is TRF 122 and what have you. And then the other side, perhaps you are just having Alex Smith and that's it, right? You can't use XLOOKUP to solve that. So what we've done at ICL is to come up with a solution, right, that helps you reconcile and take away all the headaches of having to sort, having to rearrange, having to worry about cleaning data and stuff. And you get your reconciliation done under seconds. I mean, that's what Nordin just showed us, right? Just upload the data, and within seconds, less than 30 seconds, your result is ready. And what you just need to focus on now is just to go and look at your discrepancies. And that is the result that Nordin is showing us. From the data that Nordin currently have, it is shown us like there is the ledger, which has about 40 plus rows, and there is the bank that has about 30 plus rows. And now you want to match the two. And for many of us, the ideal way of reconciling is you want to sort, where you quickly look at the low-hanging fruits, those transactions that are the same or similar, and then you sort them and you match them together. And that's what you are saying here. So from our solution, we've categorized the result from the solution into different buckets, because we know that these are the likely buckets that you would typically see in the industry or whether in practice, where you want to match a transaction. And there are some transactions that are just one-to-one. One-to-one or one-on-one means that this transaction appears in the ledger, it also appears in the bank, and the amounts are the same, and there is no deficit. So for example, from the transaction listing that we have of 40, this solution is already able to help you to take care of 22 and say that, you see these 22 transactions, you do not need to worry about them because our solution has solved them and say they are one-to-one. So for example, if you look at column D6, right? If you look at D6 and then you look at J6, you see that those two transactions, even though they have different narration, right? Look at D6, for example. It has confirm code, Alex Smith to ABC Bank and stuff. And then look at the J6, for example. It's as similar, but not exactly. And I mean, if you want to look at some of them, you can have payment to Iwelabi Consulting. on 21st of December. And then the next thing, that's from the ledger. However, from the bank, what you're saying is just payment to ICL, right? Or payment to Iwelabi, or just Iwelabi. This solution is able to help you match both of them, because we've leveraged some algorithm to read your date, to compute with your narration, to compute with your amount. And the one-to-one now, you have them matched and you have zero, no deficit at all. So, for example, about 22 transactions out of the 45 transactions that you need to reconcile is off the way. Then moving on, we have the one-on-one, and then we have ranked them based on scores, based on the narration, or based on the date or how the event happens. So we've ranked them based on scores where there are exact scores for some of these transactions because their narrations are just exact, right? One way or the other. And the dates and everything just makes sense. And then there are some that are low scores, right? Because the narration that you use when you are making the payment is entirely different from what you have used when you are posting into the ledger. We still, with our solution, you are still able to see those two transactions if they have the same amount or they are posted the same date, because this transaction has been computed against several other transactions, and the algorithm and AI tool we are able to use is saying that this is the best match for it, right? This is the only transaction that relates to this transaction you are looking for in this other data. And as such, you want to take a look at it, right? So for example, we have low scores, about a couple of them. See this guy, J23, it asked Charles and payment and all of those things. If you look at D23, it has just subscription 121710. And I think the only relationship between both of them is that they happen the same date. Then there is a code that's 1217, right? In the other one, and then the solution is able to match it. And these are things that you will have had to do manually. In many times, you will have even ignored that they are not the same transaction. Yeah, moving on here, we also have a situation where there are the same transactions. However, the amount that went out of bank is inclusive of bank charge, right? And you have not posted the bank charge at the time of your reconciliation. This solution is still able to help you match both of them as one-to-one, but now with a deficit, which is typically the bank charge. And that's what you're currently seeing in, come to 32, right? In 32, you are able to, row 32, you are able to have from your ledger, you've recorded that 20,000 actually went out of bank. However, from bank, it was 19,000, right? So that means there is an element of bank charge that has been taken care of that needs to be posted. And that is the discrepancy. That is what is left, a deficit that you then need to post at the end of the day. Then we have one-to-many. An example is salary posting or some payments that you want to make where you make the payments, right? You want to pay 100 million, for example, and that's what you are currently seeing at, then can you take it to 31, 51? That's what you're currently seeing at 51. When you want to pay someone 20,000, you've paid 20,000.26, and at the end of the day, you have recorded it twice. You recorded the 20,000 and you have recorded the bank charge. The solution is also able to help you to identify both. And then we also have some instances where there are one-to-many. However, there are still differences or deficits. For example, that's the one you have left. Can you come down a little bit? Yes, thank you. So that's some of the ones that you have left here, where there are one-to-many and you still have deficits. So you have posted 3 legs out of the 4 legs that you are meant to post. The solution will help you to identify the first leg against the 3 leg, and then help you to say that there is still one more leg that is missing that you need to post. And in summary of all of this, right, the most important thing now is that the solution is able to help you look into the 2 tables that you have brought into it, which is the ledger and then the bank. And then, the bank sometimes might be more than the ledger, or the ledger is more than the bank. And then the solution is able to help you to highlight that these are transactions that are outstanding. right? And those are the ones that you basically need to focus on, to ask yourself, why are they outstanding? Is it that you haven't posted? And if you haven't posted, the only thing you just need to do here is just to post those transactions, and we are good. Yeah. Thank you so much. Nordin, I don't know if you, I mean, if anybody have any question or, yeah, but basically these are the summary of what we are talking about here, where you have one-to-one record without deficit. So, I mean, there is another one that it adds up to 1,000 line items. I don't know if Nordin want to quickly just do that. Moderators, please just give us some, just additional 3 minutes, right?
1 minute, please, 1 minute.
Okay, 1 minute is fine. So, I mean, let me just show us this guy. Let me just show us if it is 1 minute. Nordin, just
Yeah, you
permit
can just
me.
show the results. You can just show the results.
Just permit me to share my screen. Thank you. If it is 1 minute, thank you. If it is 1 minute, just permit me to share my screen. So I'll be sharing my screen. Just let me share my screen, please. Present now. Yeah, I want to believe you can see my screen.
Yes.
So, for example, look at this data set, right? In this data set, we have the ledger, and then the ledger is about 1,000 data, right? And imagine someone having to reconcile 1,000 lines of data manually, or you are taking from bank. How long would that take? And I mean, many of us, for us to have our month-end close, one of the key bottlenecks to month-end closure is typically reconciliation. Whether it is ledger reconciliation, whether it is receivable reconciliation, payable reconciliation, or bank reconciliation itself, or even sometimes GL proofing, whether it's those things, we spend a whole lot of time trying to reconcile. And at the end of the day, it adds almost very little to no value to the business at the end of the day. And that's one of the reasons why ICL, Iwelabi Consulting Limited, has said, see, guys, look here, we can help you to save the time you are spending on reconciliation. And in a matter of minutes, or I said minute, in a matter of seconds, you are able to resolve up to 1,000 lines of reconciliation issues in a matter of seconds, and then you have a result. So, for example, this is 1,000, and then the bank is about 1,443, and then, I mean, at the end of the day, look at it here, ledger 1,000, bank 1,043, which means it is much more. And then the next thing is you want to look at what's happening. This is the summary of the results. If you use our reconciliation tool, you are able to see the one-on-one, I mean, exact match without difference. You already have about 844, which technically tells you that, look here, in this data that you have, 844 of it out of the 1,000 plus that you need to reconcile is already out of the way. You need not to worry about those ones, right? Whether your data now, the description is exact or not, like with discrepancies here and there, you are still able to get this much. And then the next thing is that there are often records, like records that are in ledger that are not in bank. And these are where you are just coming to investigate. Where are these so much record in ledger and not in bank? And ask the relevant questions. Just why? Ask the right people. Just why? And before you know, you probably know that, oh, okay, we have not posted bank charges for the period, and that is why it is like that. Or, for example, there are some transactions that are mistakenly posted into the GL, and then the next thing is just for you to take corrective measures. You reverse them or you post them, and then, I mean, our solution is just able to help you do this in a matter of seconds. Right. I mean, to cap it all, right, what we've built at ICL right now is we know that for many people, when you need to reconcile, right, you bring data from different sources to come to reconcile, to say this is bank ledger, this is bank statement, and then you need to reconcile them. And for many of us that are finance professional, we typically use spreadsheet, and that is why we've made this solution to be on spreadsheet, where you bring data regardless. So whether the description is exactly the same or not, as long as there is just one common thing and the date, are the same. You are able to reconcile. And in fact, the level at which we operate is so much that we are able to incorporate AI that is able to recognize car. You have used car in the narration of the bank, and you have used vehicle in the narration of the ledger. It is still able to match both of them, and you're able to get a very beautiful result. And I mean, all of this is just so that you can save time in order to be able to create more values to your key stakeholders as finance professionals. Thank you very much, people, for listening.
Wow. This is mind blowing. I mean, I really love the solution. Thank you so much for the wonderful presentation. Thank you, Nuruddin, and thank you, Mr. Iwelabi of Iwelabi Consulting Limited. Thank you so much. I mean, at ICL, we indeed are saying goodbye to manual works, and we are saying yes to automation. We are saying yes to auto reconciliation. So this is a reminder for you to bring your jobs to Iwelabi Consulting. You can see the level at which we operate: maximum efficiency, 100% capability. So bring your jobs to Iwelabi Consulting. And
Can we take just one question, please?
Okay.
I mean, Miriam has something to ask. Miriam, you want to say something?
In just like 2 minutes, please. Miriam, you have the floor. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much, sir. I don't know if it's a network glitch. When you're trying to run through reconciliation, I cannot see. Where I just saw was how you have the outline items, the outstanding items, but how you filter all the two, how we are able to match the two. I could not see that. Sorry, please.
Oh, you are not seeing it because that's what the software does. The software manages that for you, and that's it.
Oh,
so
it's
not manually done. Yeah, it's not manually done. All you just have to do is upload your data and then just click match, and then within seconds, 30 seconds max, you have your results. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I mean,
Thank
some
you, sir.
about security. I don't know, Nurdin, do you just quickly want to address that?
I mean, you've addressed it already. I was thinking maybe she didn't even see when we were filling in the columns of interest, right? But if she has seen all of that, then that's fine.
Okay. I mean, for security wise, in terms of confidentiality, your data are confidential to you. And I mean, it's just only accessible to your team, within you and your team. And of course, we are very, very security conscious at ICL as much as possible, trying as much as possible to get certifications around the necessary security in terms of, personally, I'm a lead auditor in ISMS, so you can also trust that, yes, in terms of security, IT security, very, very conscious. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Meaning that you don't have to use all those serious Excel formulas. You don't need VLOOKUP, you don't need XLOOKUP, you don't need pivot table. I mean, with just few clicks, you're done with your reconciliation. Thank you so much for that. So moving to the next question quickly. Mr. Afiz, are you ready?
I'm born ready, yeah, but just before that question, I just
ready.
I want to add something. I want to add something to everything they've illustrated so far. Okay, this is all about working smarter and working harder. Okay, and I talked earlier about tooling. Okay, the right tools, your work would be a lot easier. Okay, so as professionals, okay, we should always have at the back of mind. Now, what a tool can do better for you, don't spend your time doing it. Okay, I will recommend that we watch, just to drive this point home. Okay, there is a video, it's all on the internet. It was a podcast, a video by the controller at OpenAI, OpenAI, the company behind ChatGPT. And the controller is Soumya Raghunathan, where she talked about the amazing things they are using AI to do with respect to their accounting, streamlining processes, simplifying reconciliation, which is actually what has just been shown here, and even automating complex on-chain transactions. Okay, yeah, so you bring in AI, and I always say this, again, I think because people say Web3 is complex, and we all accept that, but complexity is relative. with what we've seen in the past few weeks, because AI has gone ballistic in the past few weeks, especially with DeepSeek and all these new models. Okay, I'm beginning to realize that Web3 was inadvertently built for AI. Okay, not necessarily for humans. Yeah, because AI agents are the ones that would. AI doesn't care about, AI will learn it the moment you put it on it. Okay, AI will get the best value out of Web3 for us. Okay, so I would advise everyone to look out for that video on the internet. It's Somria Reganathan just set the open AI controller, and you'll be amazed at the amazing things they're using AI to do. It's just incredible. Okay, even down to writing memos. Okay, yeah.
All right, thank you very much for adding that. Just like I said, you need to have a pen and a paper or open a note app on your phone to keep track of this important information that is flying around. So moving to the next question, Afiz, what does value creation look like in the Web3 era? I mean, how can digital assets drive financial inclusion?
Yeah, that's the whole purpose of digital assets in the first place. Okay, but with focus on stable coins and the payment systems. Okay, because I believe all of this, like if you think about the very first one, BTC is focused on payments. Okay, it was later then realized, oh, this could be a store of value. They could be used to hedge against inflation, but the whole purpose originally was more of, let's just use it for payments. Okay, so if you're looking at value creation in Web3 or in the Web3 era, we can't completely ignore Web2 when we want to talk about this. Okay, because Web2 value was created by platforms. Okay, we have the banking platforms, payment platforms and all that. But in Web3, value is created and owned by all of us. Remember I said at the start that Web3, the focus is decentralization and decentralization of the infrastructure of the digital economy. When we're talking digital economy, we're talking about everything that involves financial transactions between you and I, people that are not from in the banking system or the key properties of the banking system. So in the traditional Web2 world, value was centralized. Okay, big companies like the top, what's it called, the FANG and all of that. That's an acronym for the top company. I think it's changed now to MAMA. I might be a bit still on that. And even banks, they created and controlled value. They offered services and users give them data in return. A lot of the data is out there, that have been collected, whether you like it or not. I was just trying to set up a game for someone recently, and something came up and say, we and our 834 partners. Okay, I'm like, what do you mean? The data you collect for me setting up this game is going to be shared with 834 entities out there. I don't even know who they are, what they're going to use it for. So be mindful when you and this is just a bit of a digression, when you just accept cookies or you say, oh, I consent, you don't know where your data is going. Okay, so there is a lot of data out there that's been collected from you for free, and why these platforms get richer or they just use it for their business purposes. Okay, Web3 is flipping all of that model. Okay, Web3 is all about ownership, it's all about governance, it's all about authority, it's all about influence and decentralization and user-driven economies, all in the hands of the people. Okay, all in our hands. So that is one of the ways where it creates value. And think about this. Okay, when all of this started out, now I'm not an investment advisor, okay, and I believe a token, there are different classes of tokens. You can have asset-backed tokens, security tokens, utility tokens. But we don't think about all of those. You just say, oh, I have this token, I bought it when it was low and the prices are not good, or I'm losing value on it. Personally and primarily, I don't think of tokens as investments. Okay, they could be store of value, but I don't think of them as investments. If you trade and buy them and you make money from them, fine. A lot of people have made a lot of money, shit ton of money from them. There's nothing wrong in that. But I view them based on their use cases, especially because of my work and what I do. So yeah, the use case is very, very important. And when a token generation event, which you call TGE, happens, which means you spin up a blockchain or run a layer one, you need tokens to run transactions. So just think of tokens as you want to move your car from point A to B. I'm not talking EVs now, cars that are powered by fossil fuel. You want to move your car from point A to B, you need to put in some fuel in it, right? That's essentially what most of these tokens do. You want to run a transaction on a blockchain, those tokens you need them to pay your gas fees. But when these things are created newly, they have no value. They come from zero. Okay, but then you start seeing wealth or value being shifted, because people then start to acquire them, people then start to have them, people then start buying and selling them, and you see value being shifted from the cash that other people have in the economy and being shifted into that ecosystem for the tokens, into the Web3 ecosystem. I'll give you an example, a very clear example. I don't have the live data, but the most recent data I have on this was that stable coins in H2, I'm not sure whether it's H2 or H1 last year, but one of the halves of last year, stablecoin transactions were north of $24 trillion. Okay, that is money that came from the regular economy, or let's say the less digital economy as you know it. So there is a shift of value coming from one place to another. Or looking at the Libra example I mentioned, the Argentina project that flood. It was launched, it was all out there for less than a day, right? It was launched, people pumping money. Where did that money come from? It came from the regular economy that you and I know. Maybe some cash that you had in the bank or some cash you have in some other wallets, decide to put it into it. So you are seeing value being moved from outside Web3 into Web3. Okay, and that is how it works. It is a value chain, and it keeps going back and forth. And it's easily described as on-ramp, off-ramp. On-ramp means you bring your fiat, your currency into the Web3 world, you buy crypto or use it to conduct a transaction, you brought it onto the blockchain. Off-ramp means you're taking the money back off-chain into your wallet or into cash or into fiat or whatever again. That's it. But the key ways value is created is through tokenization of reward assets. I said it at the start that if you want to go into tokenization, it should just be maybe one particular topic on its own because it's very broad. Okay. And I use an example about, I have an Apple stock. Okay, I don't want to convert it I have an Apple stock that is supposed to, we call them tokenized securities. They're tokenized securities now. I use the example of the JP Morgan Honest project. You have a tokenized security on a blockchain, and then I want to buy an apartment somewhere from someone, and I contact the person like, hey, my stock is worth XYZ amount. Okay, I need to give you maybe 1,000 units of my stock. That is the equivalent of the house you want to sell or the property you want to sell. We both agree the terms. I transfer the stock. I get the documentation of the house. Okay, that's fine. Now, I've received the house. The other counterparty has received the stock. Okay, now this counterparty wants to maybe buy a private jet, or do something fantastic with that money. They don't necessarily need to off-ramp it. Okay, it is all still there. The tokenized Apple stock that they got, they can also still transfer that. People call this maybe trade by barter, but it's not trade by barter essentially. You can also still transfer that, and go buy a private jet or whatever other property you want. And it just goes on and on and on without necessarily converting into fiat, without necessarily converting into even stablecoin. Excuse me. So that is one of the key values of tokenization. And it also enables you, because a lot of assets now are being tokenized in the real estate world. Okay. Ideally, we want to sell a house because people say, oh, you just have one buyer or two. It's tough to own just a section of a property. Okay. It happens in the real world, but it's not so common. In the DeFi world or in the Web3 world, we can have sections or fragments or tokenized fragments of a property. We just indicate an interest in, okay, this property is worth XYZ. I want X. You pay for it and you get your returns on it. So it makes a lot of things really, really easy. It opens access to fractional ownership, allowing people to invest in assets that they couldn't even afford before. It's a greater economy, via the NFTs and smart contracts. I think I talked about some of those earlier. There is also the the context of you can earn royalties on your NFTs if you are a creator or you're monetizing your artwork. And top of all is DeFi as well. Okay, Web3 offers open, permissionless financial services, okay, where there's no middleman, and you create value that way because there's no middleman when you're lending, when you're borrowing, when you're saving, when you're investing. Nobody is taking your money in terms of fees. Even if they take it, it's very low compared to TradFi. There are no hidden charges, so things can just work easily in and out. Okay, so I'll say those are the kind of ways you can create value and transfer wealth in the Web3 industry. There are a few other things, but I want to be conscious I'm not an investment advisor. Okay, you can invest your digital assets. Okay? You can stake or yield them. Staking them means you commit your assets to the network. Okay, you commit your assets to the network to support the network. They say, yeah, we want to support the network. So I'm going to commit this asset to the network, and in return for committing my tokens to the network, I'm going to get so yield or X number of tokens after this specific period of time. Okay, because these tokens, like I said, they are there for governance. They are words based on consensus mechanisms. They are what the blockchain and the people participating in the governance decision used to vote. Okay, so there's also what else can I share? When you invest in digital assets, okay, through the DeFi platforms, I also talked about this earlier, so I'll be quick on it. You can lend it to a DeFi platform, and that way you are securing that asset against inflation edges. So the big idea overall in terms of value creation is that Web3 is shifting power from big institutions into the direct hands of individuals. So those who learn early will be the ones to benefit directly from it. And some of us look early is kind of early. Some of us look into it and be like, oh my goodness, I got into this late. Okay, but it's still very early. It is still very, very early. This technology is new. It's going places. Jump on board. Thank you very much.
I really hope we all got that, because we really need to take advantage of digital assets like Afiz had mentioned. It really looks like a great opportunity to invest in, and I would really, really love, and I hope everyone on this call too would love to do that as well. Thank you.
Bear in mind the volatility. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Afiz, once again. Your experience and wisdom on this topic has been so inspiring and very interesting. So seeing that we have very limited time and time is fast spent, I'll dive into the last question from our end for the day. So Hafiz, what are the risks and benefits of adopting DeFi, tokenization and digital currencies in areas such as, payment, investment, and fund management?
Okay. I actually think that a lot of the things I've said so far, there are pointers to this question in all of that, but I believe this is a good way to wrap up. Okay. When you're talking risk and benefits, I talked about, Web3 or DeFi, it's faster, it's cheaper, cross-border payments are way less complicated. And that is one, even in terms of investment and fund management. And I'll really suggest that, you guys here, you need to try out DeFi, if you have the means. Okay, maybe if you have some stable coin or some form of digital asset, just try out DeFi and play with it. You'll be amazed how straightforward it is. Now, do your research and only do it on reputable platforms. Okay, it is amazing. You will be amazed how fast you can put a collateral down and borrow funds. It's just straightforward. You can do it in less than 5 to 10 minutes. Everything in place. Okay, so that's one of the benefits. Okay, we all talk about traditional bank transfers, especially cross-border payments, how they can take days. I remember a while ago, someone was trying to pay a tuition fee in Germany, and they were based in Nigeria, and they just kept going on and on and on until they had to find someone who is based in Europe to help them pay it. No, and we've gone past. This is 2024, 2025, right? We've really gone past all of that based on the technology we have there for payments. So we shouldn't be experiencing that. And this is what kind of bothers me about the traditional banking institutions. The fact that they have very much kind of refused to intentionally move on. I'm putting the word intentionally there, intentionally, because the technology is out there for them. Okay, you just wonder. There are so many neobanks, and they talk about L26, Revolut. If I transfer money from one person to another now, you get it instantly. So what is the force? What is the delay? The platform is there, the infrastructure is there, the technology is there. Why not move and make the life of consumers and your users very easy? And then of course they talking about other benefits like no middleman. The more direct the transaction is, the lower the fees and the faster it is. Cut out middlemen and less bottlenecks. And of course, there are investment opportunities beyond borders. You could be sitting anywhere. It could be Sambisa, it could be anywhere, and you're investing in fractional ownership of, a downtown building in New York. It's just as straightforward on your phone, easy peasy, lemon squeezy. The DeFi allows for direct investment in stocks. I talk about competition already, and without needing a bank or a broker. Because if you engage a broker, again, you pay fees. So there's a lot of things that are being caught up. There is transparency and accountability as well. Like I said, everything is open. It's all on a blockchain. It's irreversible. It's immutable. It's transparent. And we can always all benefit from transparency. Transparency is very key. I'll move quick to the risk, okay? And the top risk is volatility and price changes, okay? Like I said, you could look at your ledger or your wallet as a business, and you can see, oh yeah, we've got millions of dollars there, and by the time you back to it, it's all gone, or it's all down to zero, or very something significant loss. That's just the nature of, there are so many sentiment attached to, because there are people backing the project, and if someone backing project A is in the news for something bad or unfavorable news, it tanks the asset. So volatility. Even if you watch the prices live, you kind of, and I asked myself, what exactly is the reason why this thing are fluctuating by the second? But the algorithms behind it are drawing so many things that you can't even think of that is influencing the prices. So they are highly volatile, and this is not so good at the moment for institutions that need stable pricing. Imagine yourself as a small startup. You have very limited funding, and you can't just afford to lose a fund, especially if you are VC backed or investor backed. So those are the kind of challenges you have. The next challenge, which is now, I talk about the volatility because that is internal. If you decide to go into the industry or into the investment or holding digital asset, it's all your choice. But the biggest challenge, which is external, is regulatory clarity and regulatory uncertainty. Thankfully, we are moving from regulation by enforcement to pro-collaborative approaches, so we expect that it can only get better. But the regulatory landscape is a big challenge. And thirdly is the security risk and scams. It's everywhere. I talked about rock pool earlier, or pump and dump. People come up with all sort of projects. The thing is, what exactly is the project offering? Now, even if you want to invest in crypto, try and think about what the project is offering rather than just, this is the again, this is not about investment in crypto, but this is about knowing the chains or the networks that you're going to be interacting with. Okay, the pedigree of the people behind the network, what they are building, and how they are building it. It is very important. Put your house in order. Okay, never put your eggs in one basket. We learned about the Bybit's arc recently, which was about $1.5 billion worth of Ethereum was stolen. So security has to be in place, and because there are scammers everywhere. North Korea, they would scam you, they would hack you, and they would make you miserable. Okay, so that is also very important. There are hackers everywhere, and you need to protect your wallet. You need to protect your keys. Then the last one, which I'll use to summarize, is lack of awareness and adoption. Okay, people don't know much about this, and if people don't know much about it, there's no way it's going to be adopted. But with the adoption will come the clarity, with the progress, become scaling, because become new use cases. Okay, so education has to continue. And that's one of the things we're doing here. For example, getting people to know this technology is out there. These are the things you stand to benefit from this individually, as a business, as a professional, and stuff like that. So that is adoption may be slow, but it's better to be slow than to not make. Progress compounds, and progress is all that matters. Okay, so I'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, Apis, for that wonderful presentation. You made justice to all the questions we asked you, and we are deeply grateful for that. So I like the fact that you didn't just tell us the benefits, you gave us the risks that are attached to. So if we want to go into the investments, we need to know that there are also risks attached. And there is this saying in, I think, economics or something, that the higher the risk, the higher the expected return. So yeah, for people that have a high risk appetite, or people that are interested in this, I mean, it's an avenue for them to do their research and grab the opportunity. And so thank you so much for that. We've come to the end of our planned questions, and I will be opening the floor now to the audience to ask questions. So because of time, I will be taking just 2 questions from the audience. But if I become generous because of Ramadan, I can just take 1 more. So let's see, how many questions do we have? If you have questions, please use the raise hand icon and you'll be given the chance to speak. Thank you. Questions? Inshallah. Speak for my appetite. You don't want to know my appetite, please. Okay, Miriam Abike, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Iwelabi Consulting and Mr. Hafiz. Please, my question is just on, I don't know, probably you even said it. I just want to know the tools, probably an app or website. We can have more insights about this blockchain, have more enlightened. I heard that, you are talking about the how being interactive, we can easily friendly use. So I just need the list of, probably, I don't know the name of the app, or the one in particular you're talking about that you can, you can invest in. I don't know. I'm sure I get my question, sir.
So just to clarify that, are you talking investing in terms of time, or investing in terms of your funds and resources, and financial resources?
Okay, financial resources.
Oh, okay. Like I said, I'm not an investment advisor. Okay, so I wouldn't want to go into that. So you don't come to me and say, "Hey, my money went poof." You told me to put my money here and there, right? Yeah, but there are so many. There's so many wallets. So we say, if you plan to get started, because decentralized exchanges may be a bit too complicated for beginners, because you're just interacting with protocols, like I said. You might want to start with centralized exchanges, so likes of Binance, Coinbase, MoonPay, the Kraken. There are dozens of them out there. Where you just you bring in fiat, you convert it, and then use it to trade, buy digital assets, and then you just leave it there. That's that. In terms of the how to learn, okay, a lot of the projects have educational initiatives. Okay, so if you just search, you will find very useful resources, even just a one page explainer or a publication on how to learn about specifics. I am very much vested in the Avalanche ecosystem. I know we have the Avalanche Academy, so you can just Google that, and you can start by you can start from there by learning about blockchain altogether. Even internally where I work, we still have some of these educational sessions, because this is all new. Again, nobody knows it all, and the more we know it, the better the adoption, the better we can spread the news, the better we can talk about it. Okay, I hope that's helpful. But if there's anything specific in particular that you would like to know more, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.
All right. Thank you for answering that question. Thank you so much. So do we have any more questions for Afeez? Anybody?
Maybe that's a cue to wrap up, I guess. Okay, we have a question.
Nuruddin, you have the floor.
Yeah, thanks very much for the run through all the while. It's been very insightful. So my question would be around the notion of stable coins, right? So when I say that notion, it's such that the way the off-chain and on-chain and off-chain you've mentioned, for example, right? The way it applies to money particularly, it becomes worrisome at times regarding, is the stable coin at times just a claim, or when will that claim become something that can be so assuring that, okay, this is properly on the chain, is backed up properly? The regulators are not the one confirming many times that it's indeed backed up properly. So when can we have that confidence of saying, okay, for someone that really wants to look at all of this Web3, this blockchain from the angle of, I want to just let it be an enabler of smart contracts I can do. I'm not interested in the volatility part of it, wherein you are creating some coins on the fly, attaching some spurious values to them, if I may call it that. And therefore, it's just going up and down, because it's two things for me when I look at Web3. The part of how it takes us to the next level of smart contracts, right, or decentralized governance, right, and then the other part of how do you say, especially cryptocurrencies parts, like the non-stable, the decentralized cryptocurrencies. That part for me, okay, anybody can decide to do whatever they want, but for someone that wants to be like, okay, I just want to be on that stable side, right? So where do we cut that kind of boundary? I think that's the question. Thanks.
All right, great question, Eugene. Thanks for asking. Okay. I've talked a lot about reputation and precedence, right? And if you again, look at the people back in the project, it is not 100% guarantee that it's successful or they're doing the right thing, but to give you a high level of confidence about where you're putting your money. So if you stable coins in focus, okay, I have to actually mention brands here to kind of really drive the point home. Okay, PayPal has been around for a long time. Okay. And then now they have their own stablecoin. Okay, so if I'm looking to put money into set money aside as stablecoin, for example, I could be looking to PayPal because I have that high level of confidence in the business. There is not one transaction I've done to PayPal that has not gone through before. Okay, I'm talking regular movement of cash, paying for a service or paying for a product. Okay. If I have a dispute regarding a transaction, because sometimes you buy things online and then you pay, it's everywhere. Okay, some they don't deliver, some they kind of swindle you. PayPal has a way that if you log a claim within 60 days or so, they will investigate it if you're due your money back. So you know that these are entities, or these are brands that have governance in place. They have risk management strategies in place. They have consumer protection strategies in place, and they will look after you. Your money is secure. They have something to lose, and they want to keep the brand. Okay. You also have, I think the king of your stable coins right now is probably USDC and USDT. Okay. Unfortunately, USDT is moving. That's Stellar. They're moving out of Europe because they don't want to comply with MiCA, Market and Crypto Assets Regulation. But they still command a huge volume globally. Okay. And if you look at those two brands, I'm not saying they are too big to fail, but they have come a long way. Okay, there is now CBDCs are very different to stablecoins. Okay, CBDCs are issued by central banks. Okay, stablecoins are issued by private entities who just want to facilitate payments easy. Okay, and they call them always on because whatever time of the day you want to transact with a stable coin, they are always there. They will move at the time you ask them to, and then they will get to the destination almost instantly. So if you're looking at stable coin, or now which is like a safe edge, okay, because they are meant to be stable. Okay, we've seen instances where they were not actually stable because they were tracking some form of other assets, non-liquid assets, or the reserves were not just right. Okay, if you are holding a stable coin, you should have a reserve that is one-to-one on a one-to-one basis. Okay, but we have some of these businesses or some of these brands that have been there. USDC, I talk about Circle a lot. Okay, it's just amazing how what they've accomplished and how well they started with USDC. Now we have Europe, which is okay. I'm just reading that comment. Okay, yeah, we will get there. We'll get there. Okay, one step at a time. Okay, let's start with USDC. Now you have the Euro, which is the Euro stable coin. Okay, and it just keeps going on and on. And I know a lot of businesses that say, don't send money to my bank accounts, just pay me USDC. Yeah, because it's faster, it's easier, there's less fees they have to pay, there's less reconciliation. Things are just way easier paying in stable coins. Okay, so it is more about the brand, the value add, the value proposition, how far you're willing to go, and the use cases. Okay. Stable coins are meant to be stable. They fluctuate a little bit, but not significantly. Okay, if you hold one USDC, you could see that maybe the value could be a little less by a few cents. Okay, it goes up and down. Sometimes they even go above $1, which is like the bright side of it, but they are always close to $1. Okay, so they are meant to help you. There's a lot of articles out there by the Dante Disparte, who is the kind of head of policy at Circle, where I always talk about stable coins. And at a point, I think people were trying to compare stable coins and CBDCs. And I love his analogy. He says, think of stable coins as the internet, okay, and think of CBDCs as the intranet. The internet is limited. It's just operating in a limited space within an organization. You can't do anything with an intranet outside. You can't even access the open web with an intranet because it's just limited to a specific set of information and activity. But stablecoins is the internet in terms of that analogy. It goes everywhere. It's always on 24/7. It is there for you. So there is I think it's actually stable coins. Okay, I say we have all these other assets, we have Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, but it is the stable coins because there's a lot of focus on payments, and it is stable coins that will actually open up that pathway, that revolution that we are all yearning for. It's all premised on the growth of stablecoins, and it is coming. I can tell you about 4 or 5 different stablecoin projects that have launched this year, and they are booming. Okay, so I think even just yesterday there was a lift of a sanction on Ton Cash, which was a form of restriction in the US on that stablecoin project. It was lifted yesterday. So stablecoin will win, this industry will win, and it is the believers that are in it for long that will actually thrive. I hope that answers your question.
Yep, it does. Thanks very much.
Great. Right. I believe that will be the end of the questions. The moderators, is that correct?
Yes, Hafiz, that would be the end of the Q&A session. Wow, it has been a very great conversation, and I want to actually appreciate your this session. I want to appreciate you. It's been an absolute pleasure having you here today. I personally have been motivated by everything you said. It's been insightful. Barakat, I'm sure you'd agree with me.
Yes, absolutely. I enjoyed every bit of it. I mean, I can also go ahead to start making my research on how I can invest in digital assets. And I believe that if I'm to create my NFT, for example, everybody on this call should join me. I mean, you should buy my product, right? To support your friends. Yeah, so thank you so much for the session so far.
All right. Okay.
So they're quite easy to create now.
That's good to hear.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, I would like to call on Mr. Kudus Iwelabi to give the closing remark before
Just
we end the session.
just before that, okay, I like to just kindly wrap up. A lot of the things I've said so far. Again, I want to just pick on the title again. Gradually, then suddenly. Like I said, we came from nothing in terms of this industry, and we just kind of gradually building baby steps. Withstanding the pressure, the regulatory pressure, the institutional pressure, and everything that was thrown in our way. And I can tell you at a point, people like, what I heard it, a lot of people heard it. What is in it for you? Okay. I said, what is in it for me and the people like me that are trying to make it headway in this industry is the ability to build something that would shape the future of finance. We want to move away from all these centralized authorities to DAOs and decentralized, and it's going to work. Okay. As far back as when someone decided to buy two boxes of pizza with 10,000 Bitcoin, I think that transaction is out there and is widely celebrated until today. I think it's every May 22nd or so. And that person just wanted to make a point. Say, I'm not going to pay with cash. I'm not going to pay with anything. I'm just going to pay with Bitcoin. I want to make a point that you can actually transact with these things. And this was, I believe, 14, 15 years ago. So we have come a long way. Okay, but I believe how far we've come is a progress. But what is ahead is not so much a difficult. As long as we have that pro-innovation and collaborative effort from governments and regulatory institutions and the likes. The phrase "gradually then suddenly" which is the title of this session. It's a warning, it's a vision, and it's also for me a perfect description of how revolution happens. And right now we are living through one. Okay, we are watching the foundations of global finance. We are seeing the shift real time. Okay, this is not hype. Okay, it is happening. People are making a living. Some people are making a heck of a living out of it. So it is actually happening. Okay, and we're watching the next financial unfold right in front of all of our eyes. It is no longer a futuristic concept. We are not just talking about techies or throwing boardrooms around, or it's not even about the early adopters anymore. We are looking about how to move this forward, how to scale it. So in this new world, value will flow from peer to peer, not from peer to middleman and then to another peer. We're talking peer to peer. Ownership is key. Decentralization is key. Access will not be limited. And we know there will be challenges. Okay, people will always fight it. Okay, every new thing there will be resistance. With every new thing comes difficulties. There will be challenges. There are many risks. Okay, but let's not forget, doing nothing is also a risk, right? So we are in for this, all in. And for finance professionals, okay, for investors, policymakers, business leaders, and everyone that is here today, I know you've been paying attention. Okay, so the next question for me to you will be: Are you learning fast enough? If you're not, then please go learn and throw yourself all in. Like I said, I started from nothing in this. Okay, it was all 90% of what I talk about, 90% of what I know is me just exposing myself and learning in my spare time. Okay. Are you positioning yourselves to lead in your business? When your business is ready to embrace Web3 or digital finance, are you that person that are willing to call upon to say, hey, come and lead this for us? Be that. Okay. And just equip yourself. It is very, very important. Equip yourself, equip your teams, and be ready for what is coming. Because the truth is, whether you embrace it or whether you resist it, Web3 will shape you. Okay, and like Trump said, it is as big as it could get. So the future is here. We are ready for it. Okay, so gradually, then suddenly, again, that is it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hafiz. Thanks a lot. I mean, gradually, then suddenly. Yeah, that's very, very perfect. A very perfect one. I mean, on behalf of the ICL team. In fact, let me just give my first remark around the subject matter. Personally, I think I first came across blockchain sometimes 2019, and in fact, I took a course on it. Well, guess what? I think this particular session even does a whole lot more justice to what I've learned back then. And now I'm a lot more excited and interested to even dig deeper as individual. And I believe it's the same for my team. So collectively at ICL, I can say that very, very soon you start seeing one or two things from us on socials, on digital finance, Web3, cryptocurrency, blockchain, very, very soon, because definitely this is a must adopt for everybody, right? It's a must adopt for everybody. And as a firm, we'll definitely be very glad to also participate in this and be at the forefront of this however best we can. Again, thank you so much for taking our time. It's been 2 hours plus, man. Thank you so much. I mean, coupled with the fact
I think
that
it's 3 hours now, actually.
3 hours, wow.
Yeah, it's been
Wow, oh,
3 hours.
no, thank you so much. Coupled with the fact that fasting is on and you still, out of your busy schedule, you are still able to grant us this opportunity to learn from your wealth of experience and diverse views over the years. Thanks a lot. And I mean, I'm definitely sure this has sparked a lot of interest in so many people on the call. I mean, I'm speaking, I can see how in fact, somebody is suggesting that we should start paying him in crypto on our platform already. so yeah, this is something that it's a must. And for me personally, the most exciting thing about the whole thing is the peer-to-peer, where no interference, smart contracts. I mean, I've listed my terms. If you're fine with it, do business. Let's just move on. No middleman. I think that's something that is very exciting to know about, and that's something that I personally look forward to experiencing. And very soon, I believe I should start doing one or two about it. Thank you so much once again. I mean, on behalf of the Muslim brothers in the house, I say Jazakumullah khairan for your efforts, for giving it to us. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And to our audience and participants, to those everybody that asked questions, thanks a lot for joining us in this. I mean, without you guys, we can't move this much, obviously. Thank you so much for your support that you have given to the firm, that you have given to myself personally as well. Thank you so much. And of course, trust us that from ICL, you continue to hear from us. Very soon, we share some of these videos with you. Some of the resources that we'll likely be getting from our fees as well will be shared with our participants as much as possible. And then you can obviously expect some communications, newsletters from us, from Iwelabi Consulting, around the subject matter for those of us that have signed up for it. And of course, by God's grace, we shall be meeting at the next TITL. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. Do enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye.
All right, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Yes.